West Denver. Sleep deprived and heavily caffeinated.
All right, let's do this then.
This is the Jeff and Bill Show.
I don't understand why
agree with that.
They don't always agree, but hey, at least they have coffee.
Coffee.
And each other.
I love you, man.
God help us.
Lord bless him. We need all the help we can get.
Now here's Jeff Hunt and Bill Thorpe. The Jeff and Bill Show on News Talk 710 KNUS.
House, Julie McCluskie. You're not going to want to miss this audio. And then the Sundance Film Festival coming to Colorado. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about Trump's election executive order that has got Secretary of State Jenna Griswold all worked up. We'll get to that in the 7 o'clock hour. Darcy Shannon's going to join us, give us a little preview in the 8 o'clock hour of what's going to happen tomorrow as the Colorado Republicans gather to elect a state chairman. Who's that going to be? She's one of the candidates. She's going to join us in the 8 o'clock hour. And then 9 o'clock, Patricia Calhoun, editor-in-chief of Westword, will be with us as Westword releases its Best of Denver. Bill, there's an old Simpsons episode where Homer decides to do everything that the new billboards come out. And as he drives forward, he just decides he's going to commit to do everything that the billboard does. As I was going through Westword's Best of 25, I kind of had the same thing, with the exception of the pot that they rate, and I'll ask Patricia about choosing that. But, best cheap breakfast, best bottomless flavored mimosas.
Oh, yeah, some of them I'm like, you got to try
burrito,
this. Yeah.
Best traditional Chinese breakfast. I'm kind of like, all right, set me up for the next few months.
Oh, exactly. There are a lot of good suggestions there.
So Patricia Calhoun will be joining us in the 9 o'clock hour, as well as Jeff Hildebrandt. So great show lined up for you. All the news we'll be covering as well. Speaking of news, now is time for Blake Olson.
Blake Olson.
Blake Olson, news and comment.
TGIF, 51 and cloudy in Denver. Expecting a high of 77 degrees today. The 7-10 5-day forecast coming up. Our top story, Elon says his days at Doge are numbered. He told Bret Baier last night on Fox he thinks Doge will reach their goal amount of government waste, fraud, and corruption removed within 130 days of the mandate.
Our goal is to reduce the deficit by $1 trillion. From a nominal deficit of $2 trillion to try to cut the deficit in half to $1 trillion, or looked at it in total federal spending to drop the federal spending from $7 trillion to $6 trillion. We want to reduce the spending by eliminating waste and fraud, reduce the spending by 15%, which seems really quite achievable. The government is not efficient, and there's a lot of waste and fraud, so we feel confident that a 15% reduction can be done without affecting any of the critical government services.
He also said they're going after those who destroy Teslas and Tesla property, and most importantly, going after the ones who push the lies.
They're being fed propaganda by the far left, and they believe it. It's really unfortunate. But the real problem is not the people. It's not like the crazy guy that firebombs a Tesla dealership. It's the people pushing the propaganda that caused that guy to do it. Those are the real villains here, and we're going to go after them. And the president's made it clear we're going to go after them. The ones providing the money, the ones pushing the lies and propaganda, we're going after them.
Russian leader Putin says it'd be a mistake to dismiss DJT's push to control Greenland. Putin spoke earlier during a visit to the world's largest city north of the Arctic Circle and said it's a profound mistake to treat it as some preposterous talk by the new U.S. administration. J.D. Vance is paying a visit to Greenland today. The DJT administration revoking hundreds of student visas. Secretary of State Marco Rubio said 300 or more student visas are being revoked as the White House targets students who express their support of Hamas terrorists. Rubio called these students lunatics and said his team is working on repealing more student visas every day. 47 is backing two Republican candidates in Florida's upcoming special elections. Florida's chief financial officer, Jimmy Patronis, and State Senator Randy Fine. Colorado Speaker Julie McCluskie, as Jeff was mentioning earlier, saying it out loud, Senate Bill 183, cheaper to kill babies than do whatever we can to promote healthy families, children, growth, and prosperity in our beautiful state. This is absolutely horrible.
The bill requires an increase to general fund of $1.5 million to cover the cost for care. But again, a reminder that ultimately the state will see a cost savings. And ultimately, it is truly an honor to be here carrying this bill alongside Rep. Garcia. And I ask for your support of Senate Bill 183.
Total darkness. Reports of deaths are starting to come in after a massive earthquake shook Southeast Asia. The magnitude 7.7 quake struck around midday local time in central Myanmar, where officials are warning there could be numerous fatalities. Colorado State Patrol says a driver has died after a crash on I-25 near Fort Collins at the Harmony exit. Investigators say the driver was involved in a two-vehicle crash, got out of the car, and began running, but he was hit by another vehicle while crossing the interstate. The unidentified person died after being taken to the hospital. And Adams County School District plans to cut more than 100 jobs to help balance its budget. The Adams 12 five-star schools announced Thursday that it has finalized its budget for the next school year. The budget contains over $27 million in cuts, forcing the elimination of around 150 positions. News brought to you by Lair Fireplace and Patio, Denver's premier source for everything fireplace, patio, and grills. Locally owned and operated since 1954. Online at lairfireplacepatio.com. Today for the Rockies, opening day in Tampa at 2:10 this afternoon. The NCAA tournament is going on, and also DU starts the NCAA hockey tournament. We'll have Nuggets and Avalanche news in the next hour. 48 in Castle Pines, 49 in Broomfield, 51 in Denver. Jeff and Billy continue on Friday without Jazzman Crockett.
This is how y'all do black women. See, I shouldn't even came on here on your white show, okay? Because it ain't nothing but racist on here anyway, okay?
Love it. Terrence Williams.
Was that on Benny Johnson's thing yesterday?
It was great, man. That guy does a good job, man. His name is Terrence Williams, and he does a great job, man. He's creating some good content.
Yeah.
Love it. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
The beautiful spring weather we've enjoyed all week is going to come to an end this weekend and certainly next week. Temperatures, though, still making the 70s today, increasingly cloudy. Afternoon showers. Lows tonight near 40, some overnight showers. Cooler Saturday, just 50s with showers redeveloping after some morning showers. Showers late Saturday. Areas of rain and snow showers Saturday night, into the day Sunday and colder. Lower 30s Saturday night, high Sunday 40s. Weather sponsored by Colorado's Best Roofing, reminding you to protect your home from the harsh Colorado weather and schedule your free no-obligation roof inspection today at roofingcolorado.com. That's roofingcolorado.com. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
I want to tell you about my friend Dan Kaplis with Dan Kaplis Law. Dan suggests you should choose a lawyer who shares your values because who you choose to represent you in an injury case says a lot about you to everybody involved in the case. You want somebody with a sterling reputation, 40 years of dedicating his life to helping people who are hurt in serious motor vehicle crashes. Look, Dan Kaplis, the son of a police officer and a former seminarian, but it gets even better. He's a real winner in the courtroom, which is what ultimately matters, right? Dan is believed to be the only lawyer in Colorado history to win 5 straight multi-million-dollar verdicts in Colorado crash cases. Dan is also believed to have won the largest truck crash verdict in Colorado history. Dan Kaplis Law, the official law firm partner of the Denver Nuggets and the Colorado Avalanche. Dan Kaplis Law, serious firm for serious cases. Dan accepts righteous injury cases on a percentage fee basis so that he can represent good people from all walks of life without regard to ability to pay. So if you need Dan's help, give him a call. Here's the phone number, 303-770-5551. That's 303-770-5551, or hit dankaplisLaw.com. That's Dan, C-A-P-L-I-S law.com. All right, headline coming from The Blaze here. Colorado Democrats, the state can save money by funding abortion and killing 30% more babies. Colorado Democrats are more than willing to blow taxpayer money on programs for illegal aliens. However, when it comes to coverage for American mothers and their unborn babies, they will apparently appeal to lethal ways to reduce spending. State Democrats are advancing legislation that would enshrine the right to an abortion in the state constitution, require the Colorado Department of Health Care Policy and Financing to fund abortions for Medicaid and child health plans, plus programs participants using tax dollars, and force public employee insurance plans to fund abortions for plan members, something they are not presently required to do. Senate Bill 183, a consequence of Colorado voters' overwhelming support last year of Colorado Amendment 79, which set the stage for the use of public funds for abortion, passed the state Senate in a 22-12 party line vote earlier this month. Prior to the bill passing the Committee on Health and Human Services, Colorado House Speaker Julie McCluskie, a prime sponsor of the legislation, indicated that the use of taxpayer funds to kill babies could save the state a little bit of money. Now, if you remember, they're facing a $1.2 billion budget shortfall. So they're in the midst of cutting things yesterday or down at the state capitol. And now she's making the argument, well, here's a great way to save some money. Let's use the tax dollars we do have to encourage the murdering of children.
That savings comes from the averted births that will not occur because abortions happened instead. So a birth is more expensive than an abortion. So the savings comes in Medicaid births that will not occur. This bill will actually decrease costs for our healthcare policy and financing department, our Medicaid expenditures in both this year and out years, as the savings from averted births outweigh the cost of covering reproductive health care for all Coloradans. This bill requires all abortion services to be state funded. The bill requires an increase to general fund of $1.5 million to cover the cost for care. But again, a reminder that ultimately the state will see a cost savings. And ultimately, it is truly an honor to be here carrying this bill alongside Rep. Garcia, and I ask for your support of Senate Bill 183.
So here's the progression we've seen here in Colorado, because I've been a part of these battles for a while. We started with women deserve reproductive choice. That led to abortion at all stages for whatever reason. And for a lot of people, that's even offensive, right? Especially the late-term abortions that take place. Dr. Hearn up in Boulder. Then the constitutional right to abortion. Now we're at tax-funded abortions. And that is leading to Democrats going, it is cheaper for the government to abort kids than it is to support them. So from choice to the government looking to now fund abortions with public tax dollars and making the argument that it's now cheaper to execute the child than it is to keep them alive. And Bill, when I was doing we were one of the lead battles against doctor-assisted suicide. This was a similar argument we made, and I actually won the Denver Post editorial board over on this, going that to the point that at a certain level, the government, and we saw this out of Oregon at one point, would look at the cost of killing somebody versus the cost of keeping them alive and start to encourage people to embrace doctor-assisted suicide. And the Denver Post actually came out against doctor-assisted suicide after we had this conversation. Unfortunately, I don't think that this is going to make that many voters angry in the state enough to turn this thing around. My sense is Colorado will be probably the last state to ever go pro-life. This is so ingrained into the voting base of this state that they want abortion. They want taxpayer-funded abortion because it was on the ballot last year. We raised this issue. This is going to allow for taxpayer-funded abortion. And the voters of Colorado were like, yep, that's what we want. And so I find it egregious, offensive, terrible that Democrats are going to go down there and make the argument that it's cheaper to kill the child in the womb than it is to raise it. Ergo, let's fund abortion with taxpayer dollars. But I don't think ultimately voters are going to change on this thing.
I don't think that voters are going to change on it. In part, again, I'm not sure how far we want to go down the road, but in part because I believe that in the current environment, the GOP position or the pro-life position is intractable. It appears too dogmatic for what the population wants. But I'm just curious about whether or not they workshopped that argument at all. Did they sit around? Was there anybody that went through this and walked her through the argument that she's making? Because it's phenomenally callous and phenomenally stupid. I mean, this is a level of dumbassery that we normally have to wait until our Denver mayor says he's going to have a Tiananmen Square moment. Normally, we have to wait to get that kind of level of dumbassery. But here, we've read it into our congressional record in the state. This is ridiculous. And I'm sorry, if you're on the staff, the lawmaker here, that you made a mistake. You didn't check this. You need to take a look and have some sort of performance review because this is freaking stupid. You thought it was a great idea to come out and go, it's cheaper to kill the babies. The hell's wrong with you? Seriously. Okay, 2 words. Go back. It's a movie. Need you to watch. 2 words. Logan's Run. That's it. That's what you're advocating for. You're advocating for Logan's Run.
Tell me what Logan's Run is. I don't
Logan's
know
Run. I know. See, I'm old. Logan's Run is an old movie where at the age of 35, everybody's killed because they're too much of a burden on the society.
Oh, interesting.
So once you reach age 35, you're done away with by the state.
Yeah.
And Logan has to try to escape, etc. So that's, you can see the premise of what's going on. Not necessarily a grand scheme as far as, the movie made. It's not one of those classics you have to go out and watch, but the story resonates.
Yeah.
And it's a really interesting sci-fi proposal, and that's what they're advocating for. Yeah. Because if the argument is, and this is the problem, is the argument is that the functionality of why this law should pass is based on cost. Being the reason to make the choice. Now, that is not the role for the government. The individual family can take family planning choices based on cost and what they can afford. And there are people that choose not to have more babies because they can't afford them and they take a variety of methods. Some choose not to have sex. Some find birth control. And yes, some also choose abortion. And that happens. But those are the families making that choice. The government should not be making the choice about who should, or at least they're going to advocate for who should live or die based on the cost of the individual. And I'll tell you why. Both Jeff and I have incredibly expensive babies that took piles of cash to keep alive when they were born in the NICU here in Colorado. If we're going to go down an actuarial table, both our kids are dead. There's no way today, if the insurance company was given an out based on cost, they would have paid to keep either of our kids alive. How dare you? If this is about the idea of cost of the baby, okay, tell me why we're keeping senior citizens alive. Yeah. Tell me why. Why? They are the most expensive cohort to provide health care for in the entire country. We're screaming and yelling about Medicare and Medicaid. Pretty sure most of those people are old. Why don't we just kill them? You want to get back and you want to get rid of the deficit? You want to talk about saving money by killing the fetus, the baby? You want to get there? That's the argument you're going to make? How dare you? Look at the entitlements. This is silly.
Bill, isn't this an argument against government-run healthcare? Because if you put it all in one category, you give all of the control of healthcare to the government, and they start pulling this actuarial table crap because they're running out of money and they want to fund, for instance, like the Blaze pointed out, they're very happy to fund illegal immigration services. So we got to cut somewhere else. Well, here's a way to cut. Old people stop getting the government-run healthcare we provide for them.
The problem with that argument is that's already what's happening in the insurance companies. That's extant. That is the status quo. And that's why we had to have Obamacare. And I am saying had to, because if we roll back the clock and remember what happened previously, there were lifetime caps on services. There were lifetime spends. And there were things that there were pre-existing conditions where if you were diagnosed with cancer and you were then clean of cancer and your insurance was canceled, nobody else was picking you up because of those pre-existing conditions. That had zero to do with a government actuarial table. That had to do with insurance actuarial tables. Remember, the insurance companies function off a premise that they don't want to spend a penny because any penny they spend on your care hurts their profits. They are the one industry in America that is not supposed to provide the situation. What?
You have the exact same situation.
In what way?
Where the money, a dollar they spend on healthcare is a dollar they can't spend on one of their other progressive programs. So let's start to cut it there.
I disagree with that because the one thing that I don't think you can really argue is that the government is necessarily cost efficient or effective. So the idea that the government is making, always goes through and makes this choice. And the problem that I have is that this lawmaker who is liberal is advocating for that choice. They're advocating for the government to make the choice based on the actuarial table, which is wrong. Right. And that's why we changed the insurance.
Of the House.
And that's why we changed the rules about insurance, because they were deciding who was going to live and die based on an actuarial table. That's why it was changed. And she's advocating to go back to that system and targeting one specific population. This is stupid. And if no Republican asked her why we need to keep the elderly people alive,
Yes.
Pox on your house. You missed it. That's the question.
Well, this is just pure utilitarian thinking.
Yes, it
right?
is.
And it's the idea that each person's a number, and based upon your potential worth to the government, you have a higher number, and the lower numbers are getting cut.
Yeah. And at that point, why don't we just start killing the homeless?
Yeah,
because they're a drain. So the idea is, if it is about the money they cost the government system, that's not okay. That's simply not okay to advocate. There are a dozen reasons that you could make the argument for taxpayer-funded abortions in Colorado. I don't support those, but I can make the argument. You come down and say, hey, I'll pay $150 an hour, write down an outline for me to make the arguments for taxpayer-funded abortions in Colorado. I'll nail it for you. I'll make the argument. I'm not saying I believe it, but it's there. Well, but this is not part of it. This is not part of it.
When you add in, we had Tom Perrell on, I think last week or 2 weeks ago, Democrats for Life, who ran a bill to provide some type of medical oversight on these abortion facilities, because the state doesn't even know how many abortion facilities there are.
That's ridiculous.
They're in this realm of extremism around this issue that is frankly bizarre, unless you understand that this is a no compromise position for them. Right. So when Tom Perrell was here, he was pointing out, and he'd introduced a bill to provide, some type of medical oversight on these abortion facilities, because right now there's zero. There's actually zero medical oversight other than the initial licensing of the doctor and nurses to provide it. So if a patient dies, so he's pointing out, if you really believe that this is about health care for women, and that's your position. Like, we've got to defend abortion because this is health care for women. And then you have zero medical oversight. And you don't even know how many abortion facilities are. And Colorado prides itself on as being a travel destination for abortion. We provide late-term abortions. We're now funding it with taxpayer dollars. And the argument being that it's cheaper on the state than raising the children. We're in a realm of extremism on this.
Yeah, this is ridiculous.
That I think, I would hope that some form of common sense would come down on this stuff, but I don't think it will.
No.
And maybe I'm so jaded being in this battle for so many years and just constantly losing all the time. Like, we don't even know how many abortions take place in the state.
Yeah. And again,
we don't know why people are getting abortions. There's literally zero oversight on this stuff.
Yeah, and the oversight and review is absolutely needed, especially if you want to argue that it's supposed to be safe and effective, that you are giving these women the best possible choices. Then there should be review, there should be requirements, and that's where taxpayer money should be funneled towards. And in a time in which that we are cutting the government spend, we are $1 billion over budget in Colorado, and they're looking for savings. Arguing that if this group of people didn't exist, then it is cheaper for the state isn't a good argument, because we can make that argument about a lot of people, and the one you got to focus on, you have to, is go to the other end of life. You have to roll in the elderly. That's the issue, because they are very expensive to take care of. Plus, guess what? If we start killing them off, all their money goes back into the economy, and we all get it through, inheritance and stuff, and then taxes. And also, here's the other benefit. If we're going to talk just BS benefits, if those elderly people, we start offing them like in Logan's Run, guess what? Their jobs are open. Also, where they live are open. So we can solve the housing crisis by killing the elderly. That's what I'm hearing out of this logic that we're getting from the Speaker of the House. And this is the Speaker. This isn't a run-of-the-mill lawmaker. This is someone that's supposed to be a leader. And their staff is so freaking stupid that you allowed her to go onto the floor and enter this into the record. How dumb are you? Did y'all just sit around in a room and think this was a good idea? Did no one proofread this speech and thought, maybe you're arguing that killing them is a bad idea? None of you. That didn't raise a red flag in any of your pretty little heads? How stupid are you? This is one of the most offensive and obtuse political messages that we've had in this state for a long time, and that's saying something. Remember Mayor Tiananmen Square? This is saying something, how stupid this is. Yeah, you're probably going to win on it, but it doesn't mean you're not stupid. Again, every single one of you that works in that office should be looking at your resume and realizing, do you really deserve this job? Do you really deserve to be on the staff when you put her out on the floor of the House to enter into the record here in Colorado that killing them is going to be better because it saves money? Jeff and I go back and forth all the time about pro-choice and pro-life and what we want to do. We have a good intellectual discussion and we have genuine, reasonable disagreements about the approach. We don't argue that it is cheaper for one group or the other not to exist. That is ridiculous. It's just phenomenally stupid and offensive. And just fire your staff. Do something, because this is an embarrassment.
Well, Bill, the comments coming in here on the text messages. Good morning, Bill. Great points. Bam! From 2033-5556. Writing, Bill, great commentary on the abortion bill. Another example of the Dem Party extremism. And then Doug saying he stopped listening because when you mentioned Logan's Run, he's now thinking of a young Farrah Fawcett.
Ooh, yes. In that tight outfit. Yes.
Great comments.
Yes.
Well, phone lines are open. We'd love to hear from you. Bill and I in agreement on this one. This is Dem extremism pushing. It's a utilitarian worldview. It's incredibly dangerous. When you take it to the other side of life, too, you result in the terrible treatment of the elderly. But the government, bean counters, looking at the cost of your life, especially in the midst of a deficit, going, well, it'd just be better for everybody if you were just not here. Yeah. That's just terrible.
And I want to know, 303-696-1971, 303-696-1971. Okay, we're giving you the magic wand. We're giving you the Speaker of the Colorado House magic wand. What group of people do you kill to save money? What do you want to do? I'm nominating the elderly. We can talk about what age it should be, and I understand, yes, I'm tongue-in-cheek, and yes, my mom would be in that, so I'm not really being serious about this. But if we're taking this argument that if a group of people didn't exist, we could save money, who do you kill? And it's no fair to just say the Democrats. Just saying, don't take the easy one. 303-696-1971.
You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710, KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Lots of text messages coming in on this conversation we're having. Colorado Democrats have found a way to save money by funding abortions and killing 30% more babies because it'll save the state money rather than raising them. And that's a utilitarian worldview that just falls apart. Anyone who's ever taken a philosophy class knows that you, the person claiming the utilitarian argument, can often find yourself the victim of it very, very quickly. So Julia McCluskie at the state capitol now calling for taxpayer-funded abortions because it's cheaper than raising a child. Well, one area they're happy to spend money on, the Sundance Film Festival, coming to Boulder starting 2027, beating out Utah and Ohio. The Denver Post reporting that the Sundance Film Festival is getting on its horse and moving to Boulder after months of multi-million-dollar funding appeals from cities across the country. The nonprofit film festival board announced yesterday that the famed event will move from its longtime home in Park City, Utah, to Colorado beginning in 2027. Boulder beat out a combined bid from Park City and Salt Lake City, as well as one from Cincinnati. That would be weird. Which revealed earlier Thursday that it was no longer in the running. Boulder won due to its attractive mix of culture, including its mountain setting, technology sector, arts community, college population, community values, officials said, and a celebratory press conference outside the Boulder Theater Thursday afternoon. Jared Polis did a big press conference there, but not all, even Democrats are happy about this. Bob Marshall, the Democrat state lawmaker that represents Highlands Ranch, calls this trickle-down economics Democrat style. Have the state provided $38 million in crony capitalism subsidies to a favored group. Say the economic value will far exceed the expenditure, which results-oriented studies. Don't ask why we outbid other states by tens of millions of dollars, and the receiving city main beneficiaries are currently putting up zero. Do this in a year when we slash Medicaid to the bone, don't fund education, and tell everyone the future economic benefits of having the right elites show up to tip our servers a few dollars will make up for the tens of millions given to multimillionaires. Wow. That's wild. So, willing to spend $38 million to bring Sundance Film Festival here. Meanwhile, let's fund abortion because it's cheaper to kill the baby. This is Democrat math written all over it. Let's go to the phone lines. Joel in Littleton. Good morning, Joel. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show.
Morning.
Good morning. Wouldn't it be cheaper to reinstall the death penalty than keep prisoners in prisons for the rest of their lives?
It's a really good point, Joel. The issue is going to be, and this is the weird part because, again, I back in high school and college had to debate this topic, and the issue as far as life in prison and death penalty as far as cost comes down to number of appeals, and it's really, really weird. Is in certain cases, the death penalty can be more expensive because of paying for all of the appeals, depending on how the lawyers are structured and what the state is paying and stuff like that. So, but yes, it's a good argument, though, based on total cost. So let's just take the appeals out of it. You're absolutely right. Total cost would absolutely make your point that the death penalty is by far cheaper than life in prison. And I'm just going to tell you, a young Billy Thorpe made that argument in debate. I went to several tournaments making that argument. And I'm not saying it's reasonable, but it was it's a debate. So that's what we were doing. But yeah, it's a good point, man.
Right. My point was, I'm not into all the specifics like you did, but I'm not really pro-death penalty, but that's the first thing that popped in my head.
What's great is you prove the point of what Jeff was talking about, the utilitarian nature of this decision, meaning that we are focused on the practical outcome based on money. in this case. So what one is going to save us more money? Yes, Joel, you're absolutely right that the death penalty would save us more money than putting these people in prison. Now, here's the very fun part about it if we want to extrapolate this, Joel, and I appreciate the phone call this morning, is, well, if we can save so much money not incarcerating these people just for capital offenses, what else could we kill them for? Because then we'd save a whole lot of money.
Well, and this is why it breaks down, because I think his name was Peter Singer, Paul Singer, one of them. He was a Princeton philosopher who is a utilitarian in this stuff. And I always thought, well, okay, so let's count each human life. You, by promoting this ideology, are actually resulting in a lot of human deaths. Ergo, your life results in a lot of death. Therefore, we should kill you, Mr. Philosopher. Like, it doesn't, utilitarianism breaks it down very, very quickly.
And it becomes a zero-sum game, because if you start culling the population, everybody's individual life then raises in value because there are less of you. So it's a supply and demand scarcity issue.
Joel, great call. I sure appreciate
Have
it.
a great
Thanks
Friday,
for
man.
joining the conversation this morning. So, lots to talk about. You got Democrats down at the state capitol saying we should fund abortion because it's cheaper than raising a child. Meanwhile, they're willing to put $38 million in tax subsidies and breaks to bring Sundance Film Festival here. What do you think of that? Good idea? Good move? Want to get your phone calls, 303-696-1971, or text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line, 720-819-5115. What's that?
I'm pissed about. Why Boulder?
Dude, it is perfect for this place.
I
They
know-
made the right decision regarding the city.
Oh, no. The thing for me is that if we're going to be making the economic investment, and we're going to want to have the spotlights on, the wonderful state of Colorado, you're going to go to Denver? Why go to Boulder?
Oh, I
understand.
I'm
I understand the
thrilled
visual.
they're not in Denver.
Oh, no, but the thing for me is I understand the venue. I understand it's a liberal bastion.
Yes.
I understand
they're going to be
why.
so happy up there.
Yes, I understand why it fits
And they don't
based
have
on the
to
people.
they can drive right by Denver.
Oh, yeah. But the issue being that if we're talking about it being an economic boost, blah, 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 raising the higher tourism, blah, 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 whatever the hell it is. Denver? That would be helpful. Here, not there. It would be like saying we're going to do it in Snowmass.
See the article that the Wolves are making their way closer to Denver?
Yeah, well, of course they are. You know where the food is? In Denver. Yes,
Down
it's
on
much
the 16th
easier.
Street
yes.
Mall.
Have you seen how fat some of those squirrels are? That's easy prey. This is not going to be hard. Yes, of course they're going
Doug's pointing out, now we could just argue that mass murderers are saving society money.
Hey, we could subsidize them.
That's already called Planned Parenthood, Bill. All
we
right.
could do like a free 3-foot-long sub for every 6th murder. I'm just saying.
You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
I'm so awful. This is Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710 KNUS. Bad Bill.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. It's that special time on a Friday morning to give you Choose the News Loser edition.
Yeah, it's only when Jeff is talking to me he says you choose the loser. Yes, it's that time of the morning where you get to take questionable decisions. This is You Choose the News Loser edition.
You are one pathetic loser.
Loser!
Let's go. Loser! You're a loser!
The Losers Club.
Bunch of losers.
You're such a loser. You made me feel like a loser!
She's a loser. You are such a loser. Loser.
Yes, these are the stories that both Jeff and Blake felt weren't worthy of our attention earlier this week, and You Choose the News, so they come back for one more shot at glory. Yes, you know how we do this. Silly stories, scour interwebs, really dumb headlines from me, and playing this fake radio news game show because nobody in charge has any idea we're doing it. Jeff and I were in a meeting with some higher-ups yesterday, and they were saying, yeah, and we hear you do this thing on Friday. No, we don't do anything like that. No, we had a plausible deniability. Nope, nobody has any proof. We don't do this. No. But they asked about it, and we had to deny. So, now, with that in mind, here are our choices. Gentlemen, Blake Olson in the news department, Jeff in the studio. Your returning headlines are faking it. Number 2 is refreshing approach to bribery. Headline number 3, Lars Ulrich was right. And headline number 4, not a novelty. Mr. Hunt.
Who's Lars Ulrich?
Lars Ulrich is the drummer for Metallica, and I'm disappointed in you as a person.
Yeah, we'll go with him.
Lars Ulrich was right. A brand that notoriously connected to music piracy before reemerging as a subscription music service has been sold. Yes, Napster is back in the news, being sold for $277 million. $207 million for Napster.
It's still around.
Yes, I had
and does
no
it
idea.
Still allow you to download pirated music?
It's now subscription based. So just like any other subscription, when you do Spotify, you can download and stuff like that.
Pandora
so yeah,
or something?
It's
Wow.
completely. But $207 million for that. And of course, Lars Ulrich said that Napster was going to ruin the music industry because it was going to kill album sales, and he was right. 110%. Yeah, been a nightmare. So Lars was right. Nobody remembers that one. Okay, Blake Olson, sir. Faking it, refreshing approach to bribery, or not a novelty?
Let's go with faking it.
Yeah, faking it. A registered nurse has been arrested and accused of aggravated murder, allegedly convincing her patient that the patient had terminal cancer and injecting her with a fatal dose of insulin. Why? It was an attempt to collect the victim's $1.5 million life insurance policy. The 47-year-old nurse was arrested earlier in connection with the death of a 38-year-old that she had been taking care of for quite some time because of an unprescribed dose of insulin. Now, the nurse just said that they found the patient unconscious. Now, what happened is when family members were actually around, they said that the patient was struggling to breathe, was almost like she was drowning, and had major health issues. When they took the patient to the hospitals, there weren't any new issues. The person wasn't a diabetic, and they didn't have cancer. But the nurse practitioner had said for years that the person had cancer, and they were getting treated. Yeah.
That's
because they were trying to get the $1.5 million life insurance benefit. I know. Well, maybe the Speaker of the House should just say they were going to help us out by killing someone and give her the money anyway.
I said she could be an elected Democrat in Colorado.
I love how you think. You're my man. Okay. Jeff, final choice this morning, sir. Refreshing approach to bribery or not a novelty?
Refreshing approach to bribery.
Yeah, this is a refreshing approach to bribery. A Boston man pleaded guilty recently after federal authorities said he worked with a now former Massachusetts state police sergeant to give false passing scores to some commercial driver's license applicants. Yes, they passed the CDL because they bribed the police officer in charge. What did they use? Nope, not money. Nope, not crypto. Nope, not even sexual favors. It was water. Yeah. The CDL drivers worked for a water company, and the state police officer was being bribed by things like Fiji water and bottled water and Arizona iced tea and coffee and tea products. I'm just saying that's really, really, really cheap. That's yeah. Right. And also, shout out to everybody that noticed that we're doing tea and beverage and water, and the title was Refreshing Approach to Bribery. See how we close the circle?
Nice job.
Alrighty, that's it. That's the end of your choosing news. Back to you, sir.
Well done. All right, in the 7 o'clock hour, Donald Trump's got a new executive order regarding elections, and Jenna Griswold not happy about it. Why? Because you have to have an ID? Really? All right, you're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is 710 KNUS.
It is 7 a.m. in the Mile High City on this Friday, March 28th, 2025. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights and hottest takes from the right, left, and center. Congratulations. You're waking up, heading to work. The greatest country in history. Donald Trump's your president. We're off and running. We got an entire hour of conversation with you regarding Donald Trump and Jenna Griswold. They're back at it again, fighting. Jenna does such a good job playing her role as the Democrat opposition, I guess, to anything the president wants to do regarding voting, even though if you remember, she was the one that tried to keep him off the ballot. Even went to the U.S. Supreme Court to try to do so and lost a 9-0 decision. But Donald Trump implemented an executive order calling for IDs to be used to verify that people can vote in our elections. And Jenna Griswold's not happy about that. We'll get to that in a second. I want to go to the phone lines. Jay in Denver. Good morning, Jay. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show.
Morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Good. How are you today?
Good. I just thought I'd add to the Democrats' thunder and say you really should see the movie Soylent Green with Charlton Heston, because once they kill everybody, they turn them into food for the rest of the population.
Jay, thank you so much for bringing this to the table, because I was trying in my rant earlier, I was trying to weave in a way to get to Soylent Green, but I never managed to connect the dots, and you have helped us. But you're exactly right. Yes, and that the classic line, Charlton Heston, yelling, Soylent Green is people. Yes, and what they would do is, and again, we could do that, and you could get to the elderly, we could even get to the homeless, and we could talk about it, how this is how you then replenish the foodstuffs and make it cheaper at the grocery store and fill the food pantries, and we could pay for the free school lunches for kids if we just give them all Soylent Green. But yes, Jay, you are exactly right to point out the dumb assery of the utilitarian argument made by our Speaker of the House. And if people aren't familiar, Speaker of the House stood in our Golden Dome during a debate over a bill and made the argument that taxpayer funding of abortions is better than not because of money, because it's cheaper if we don't have to raise these potential kids. That's the argument they made. This is just phenomenally stupid. Now, Jay, just between you, me, and Jeff, are you surprised that the Democrats are making this argument in Colorado, given some of the other things they've floated? Is this one of those that you're like, oh my God, I can't believe they said this? Or is it more like, well, yeah, I can believe they said this? What's your reaction?
Well, my reaction is the Democrats need all the help they can get, and maybe this is where they're going to get it.
Oh, interesting.
So I really don't have anything else to say.
Jay, really appreciate the call this morning. Thanks so much. Jay's line's open, 303-696-1971. This is the only talk radio show where you are invited into the conversation throughout its entirety. We want you to be a part of it. Phone line open, 303-696-1971. Now is time for Blake Olson.
Blake Olson.
Blake Olson, news and comment.
TGIF 49 and cloudy in Denver, expecting a high of 77 today. The 7-10 5-day forecast is coming up. Our top story, another 10,000 federal employees are losing their jobs. The Department of Health and Human Services says it's letting go of thousands of employees across several agencies. It'll save about $2 billion a year and will mainly target administrative roles. Elon says his days at Doge are numbered. He told Brett Baer last night on Fox he thinks Doge will reach their goal amount of government waste, fraud, and corruption removed within his 130-day mandate.
The sheer amount of waste and fraud in the government, it is astonishing. It's mind-blowing. We routinely encounter wastes of $1 billion or more, casually. For example, like the simple survey that was literally a 10-question survey that you could do with SurveyMonkey, cost you about $10,000, the government was being charged almost $1 billion for that.
For just the survey?
$1 billion for a simple online survey, do you like the national park? And then there appeared to be no feedback loop for what would be done with that survey. So the survey would just go into nothing. It was like insane.
He also said that the needless killing in Ukraine and Russia has to stop. Just ended already, and American politicians need to stop pushing this endless war.
I take great offense at those who put the appearance of goodness over the reality of it. Those who virtue signal and say, oh, we can't give in to Russia, but have no solution to stopping thousands of kids dying every day. They just want that to continue forever. I have contempt for such people. I don't want to make that clear.
Yeah. So you're optimistic.
Because their virtue signaling and their lack of a solution means that kids don't have a father. It means that parents lost a son. For what? Nothing.
Exactly. Russian leader Putin says Greenland should think about DJT's offer to buy their country. Vice President J.D. Vance in Greenland today. A New Jersey judge will hear arguments today about the deportation of a Columbia University grad student who was arrested by ICE earlier this month. A judge is considering whether Mahmoud Khalil's case will be moved from New Jersey to Louisiana, where he's currently being held. The Trump administration revoking hundreds of student visas. Secretary of State Marco Rubio said 300 or more student visas are being revoked as the White House targets students who express their support of Hamas terrorists. Rubio called these students lunatics and said his team is working on repealing more student visas every day. Speaking of lunatics, Colorado Speaker Julie McCluskie just says it out loud. Senate Bill 183, cheaper to kill babies than, do whatever we can to promote, life, healthy families, children, growth, a little prosperity in our state. Horrible.
That savings comes from the averted births that will not occur because abortions happened instead. So a birth is more expensive than an abortion. So the savings comes in Medicaid births that will not occur. This bill will actually decrease costs for our healthcare policy and financing department, our Medicaid expenditures in both this year and out years, as the savings from averted births outweigh the cost of covering reproductive health care for all Coloradans.
Averted births savings, just sick. Billy's correct. It feels like Logan's Run. It really does.
Every pleasure is yours to experience.
Runner!
There's just one catch.
When the tiny crystal in the palm of your hand flashes its final message, your time is up.
Life imitating.
I love that.
Fiction, right? That thing was great.
That was amazing.
It used to give me nightmares.
Oh, yeah.
Also. It really did.
And
especially during the Cold War.
Oh, yeah, but now Julie McCluskie wants us to do that. That's great.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Makes sense.
Oh, totally.
Look at your palm every day to see if you have the dot on it. I think it was the palm, right? Is that what they said?
I think it was. It was like a wristwatch thing. If I remember. Something like that.
Yeah, Julie would be great there. She would be outstanding. Reports of deaths are starting to come in after a massive earthquake shook Southeast Asia. The magnitude 7.7 quake struck around midday local time in central Myanmar, where officials are warning there could be numerous fatalities. Colorado State Patrol says a driver has died after a crash on I-25 near Fort Collins at the Harmony exit. Investigators say the driver was involved in a two-vehicle crash. He got out of the car, began running, but was hit by another vehicle while crossing the interstate. The unidentified person died after being taken to the hospital. Day in Tampa at 2:10. Nuggets and Jazz tonight. Avs shut out the Red Wings. NCAA tournament continues today, and DU in their 16th straight NCAA hockey tourney at Providence this afternoon. 46 in Larkspur, 47 in Lafayette, and 49 in Denver. Jeff and Billy continue without Jazzman. I call him Jazzman. Jazzman Crockett.
I sure would run for president. I sure would. And I make P. Diddy my vice president. P. Diddy, Crockett and Diddy. Okay? Crockett and P. Diddy. They need to free him. He ain't do nothing. Diddy and Crockett and Diddy. I would run.
I love it. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
The beautiful spring weather we've enjoyed all week is going to come to an end this weekend and certainly next week. Temperatures, though, still making the 70s today, increasingly cloudy. Afternoon showers. Lows tonight near 40, some overnight showers. Cooler Saturday, just 50s with showers redeveloping.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS, Denver's talk leader. I'm going to take a moment here to talk to you about Wound Care Associates of Colorado. We're going to get to Terry on the phone lines in just a sec. But recently, one of the kids in my life went ahead and had to have some minor surgery. Nothing like a huge medical. This was something that was a little more, not necessarily cosmetic, but was a problem that needed to be taken care of. And after surgery, the incision wasn't healing properly. And we did go into 2 different follow-ups with the surgeon, and they recommended we'll just maintain the wound, which meant keeping it open. Now, you know how kids are. Any sort of tear or cut is a great highway for dirt, germs, and bacteria to get access to their body. And they were advocating that we keep this open. Hey, Doc, I want to talk to someone else. So I went and talked to the Wound Care Associates of Colorado, new advertiser here on the station. I reached out using coloradowound.com, coloradowound.com, because I wasn't going to mess around. I'm not leaving an open wound on anybody that is important to me in my life. Myself, my friends, my families, doesn't matter. Because anytime you're dealing with a slow-healing cut, diabetic ulcer, pressure sore, what seems like a little deal can turn into a very big deal. I had it in my life. Years ago, my aunt developed a chronic wound on her leg. They were maintaining it as well. She got MRSA because it wasn't healing. Maintaining the wound means keeping it open and cleaning it. It doesn't mean promoting healing. That was what went wrong. She ended up with numerous bouts in the hospital, including some amputations, because not the wound, but because of the infection afterwards. So when I had the same situation with my daughter, no way in hell am I messing around. I made one call, one contact, and I chose the best. Wound Care Associates of Colorado. Here's why you need to choose them as well. They do it differently than anybody else. First of all, they promote faster healing outcomes. They want to have that tissue and skin heal. They want to make sure that dirt, germs, and bacteria can't get access to your body. But better than that, they're offering you concierge service without the concierge price, meaning they come to your house and provide the treatment on your schedule. When you contact Wound Care Associates of Colorado at coloradowound.com, coloradowound.com, you're not worried about how to get there to their office. Doesn't work in your schedule, working at traffic times and everything else in transportation. You don't have to worry about maybe it's your mom, dad, someone else in your life, getting them to the office, because Wound Care Associates of Colorado, their wound certified nurse practitioner comes to your location. That means if your family member or friend is in a retirement community, they'll go to them. If it's at your own home, they come to you. How does that sound? That's like worth the price of admission alone, right? Yeah. And they set up a private, personal treatment plan that is focused on your health and your healing. That's what they did for my daughter. It is working great. Just in a few days, that wound has made dramatic steps to healing versus what was happening before. It is instant change. Don't mess around. A little deal can become a very big deal when you're talking about a chronic wound, a diabetic ulcer, a pressure sore. Don't mess around. Go to the best. Wound Care Associates of Colorado. I trust them. You can too. Reach out to them at coloradowound.com, coloradowound.com. Wound Care Associates of Colorado. And when you talk to them, tell them you heard about them here on the Jeff and Bill Show, because it sure does help us out. Thanks.
That's great to hear, Bill. We've got another caller. Let's go to Tracy in Longmont. Good morning, Tracy.
Morning, Tracy.
Morning, Jeff, Bill. Hey, I just had a comment on Soylent Green. That I had that VHS cassette, and on the trailer on the back of it, it said it was Denver, Colorado, and those people in that movie, they couldn't afford to live anymore, so they were going and having themselves euthanized. Yeah. And then another point I'd like to make to Jeff is to look into the state seal of Colorado, Jeff, and it says Nihil sin numen, which is nothing without providence. And the motto for the state of Colorado is the watchful, careful eye over all of God's creation. And then when you go to the east of the Capitol there, Logan Street runs that distance from Immaculate Conception all the way down past the Scottish Rite Temple. And there, it's loaded with churches and things down there. Alma, the Pillar of Fire. I mean, it's an amazing place, and have all this kind of stuff going on. I can't believe that people don't participate in being a steward over God's creation like the state seal represents.
Now, Tracy, there's an idea there, and I appreciate the phone call. Thank you so much. That I think you're talking about Logan Street. Is this? I forgot that we have a Logan Street here in Colorado. Maybe we could come down and have a new proposal to the Speaker of the House, Julie McCluskie, since she talks about taxpayer-funded abortions are going to reduce our total health care costs. So if we're doing that, maybe what we can do is ask the Speaker to identify some vulnerable populations. And then what we will do is we will host a Soylent Green / Logan's Run charity race. And you line up the population at one end of Logan's Run, and you take a number. You say like the 20. The first 20 that make it to the finish line, they're saved. Everybody else, dead. And we can do it, for the kids. We're raising money. We can sell T-shirts. We can go out there like a parade. We could celebrate the people that made it. Yes, this does sound like that movie Hunger Games. But again, a Speaker of the House, Julie, says it's about saving us money. That sometimes in order to save money, some people have to die.
Well, yes, I may, to that point, Bill, I may post online who else we could be killing to save money here in the state of Colorado.
Please do. And also ask about which populations.
Yeah,
do it that way. Who else should be on that list? Oh, man, this is ridiculous. Speaking of crazy stuff,
I was going to say, speaking of great Democrat leadership in the state of Colorado, Donald Trump had put out an executive order recently calling for identification when it comes to voting. Here's Section 2 enforcing the citizenship requirement for federal elections in his executive order. To enforce the federal prohibition on foreign nationals voting in federal elections within 30 days of the state of this order, the Election Assistance Commission shall take appropriate action to require in its national mail voter registration form issued under 52 U.S.C. 20508 that a documentary proof of the United States citizenship consistent with 52 U.S.C. 2058B. That includes a state or local official to record on the form the type of document that the applicant presented as documentary proof of United States citizenship, including the date of the document's issuance, the date of the document's expiration, the office that issued the document, and any unique identification number associated with the document. This essentially says you got to have some form of ID to vote in the United States. It could be a U.S. passport. It could be a real ID. It could be an official military identification card or a valid federal state government issued photo identification. If such identification indicates that the applicant is a United States citizen, or if such identification is otherwise accompanied by proof of United States citizenship. This did not make Jenna Griswold happy. Here's Griswold going on, I think, MSNBC.
Joining us now is Colorado's Democratic Secretary of State, Jenna Griswold. Secretary, thank you for coming on with us. You've called this executive order unlawful. Explain why.
Well, good morning. Thank you for having me on. I call it likely unlawful because President Trump is trying to grab power that he does not have. Look, a president can't just grab power from Congress and dictate the national law of the land. That's not how this country works. And one of the requirements in the executive order is to change the national voter registration form to require proof or evidence of citizenship. Now, as you mentioned, this would potentially disenfranchise millions of people all across the nation and disproportionately affect women, people of color, and blue-collar Americans.
Explain why that would disproportionately affect those particular groups, because they don't have passports, they can't afford passports. Are there other IDs that could be used to prove citizenship?
Well, part of the issue with the executive order is it is not totally clear. The executive order says that if someone has a real ID that shows citizenship, they could use that. Most real IDs, many real IDs actually do not show citizenship. That we're talking about your driver's license. So it heavily relies on passports. And frankly, passports are expensive. They're like $160+ Many people do not have them. And people of color don't have them at a higher rate than the average American. And then on top of that, women who get married, well, then they have to jump through an additional hoop if they change their last names.
Yep.
So let's be very clear. Trump and MAGA Republicans have been focused for years on disenfranchising Americans all across the country, and this is a perpetuation of that.
What are you going to do about it? Is Colorado planning to sue?
Well, we're in conversations, but I do think we'll see litigation. There is a lot in this executive order, and like I mentioned, a lot is unclear. And ultimately, states need to be able to run elections coming up here very soon. Another provision in the order says that states that receive ballots after Election Day cannot count them. Again, this is potentially Donald Trump trying to grab power from Congress and dictating what federal law is. That's not how this country works. But that would be a huge impediment to many states across the country because that's how they run elections right now.
Colorado Secretary of State Jenna Griswold. Got to leave it there for today.
All right. So a few things here, Bill.
Yeah.
She seems to openly admit that her driver's licenses don't indicate citizenship.
Which they do, actually. I mean, technically, because if they do allow a non-citizen, but it's a different driver's license.
Exactly.
It doesn't look the same,
right.
So it does.
So it seems like much ado about nothing on that sense.
Yeah.
And then two, just kind of going, well, these groups of people seem to struggle getting a license. Women, people of color, and blue collars. I mean, it's like a backhanded racist slap, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But okay, so if Republicans are running out saying, we've got all these illegals voting apparently in our elections because we don't require ID, and if there is already a distinction in Colorado between a citizen and a non-citizen, and it says so on the license, to me, it seems pretty easy counter-argument from Jenna Griswold to go, no, we don't have illegals voting in our election. You want to run this little thing to require on the form with your voter registration some coverage that you are a legal citizen, some indicator. It's not going to change our elections. Like, it seems to me like Jenna Griswold would be better suited to go, yeah, we have the gold standard. We already have things in place to make sure illegals don't vote. Yeah, we can abide by this. By the way, Donald Trump, you're going to do all this. It's not going to change the election because I already have the gold standard. But coming out and going, well, this is confusing and white or women and people of color and blue collars can't seem to figure this out. I think it's the wrong approach.
Oh, yeah. This, again... Oh, I'm trying not to get angry again. But this we go back to what we had last hour with the Colorado Speaker of the House is, Jenna, just here, a little closer. Squeeze into the radio here a second because if your staff told you to say this, they're idiots. You need to fire them all. Just like Julie's staff should be fired today for advising that she take that tactic on abortion. This is stupid. This is dumb. These arguments are so low tier based on the subject that, in all honesty, in my opinion, you should be embarrassed to have this be the thrust of your argument against this. There are numerous things that you can use to push back on this. Here, Jenna, tell you what, for free, I offer these to you.
Hit the record button,
yes.
Jenna.
Here's number one. The Constitution says he can't. That's it. There is an elections clause in the Constitution and outlines the roles of states and outlines the roles of Congress. Guess who's not mentioned? The president. That's where you start, Jenna. That's where you start on this. That what Trump is doing through executive order is not allowed through the Constitution. That's your argument. Don't start with, well, it's difficult and some people don't have it. Yes, there are examples of women who have gotten married and haven't been able to change their ID in time for the election because of the process or just because of time, and they've had questions about them voting in places that have some ID laws. Yes. Is it a significant number? No. Is it likely to change the outcome of an election based on the numbers we've seen so far? No. Not necessarily a strong argument. The other thing, Jenna, is you could have gone with, even the Heritage Foundation has done a decades-plus long search into illegal people voting and fraudulent votes, and they can't find any of a significant nature that would have swung an election. This is a solution searching for a problem. That's your second argument, Jenna. That first, in order to be concerned about election security and fraud, we have to prove there is fraud taking place on a large enough level to worry about the results of our election. Nobody has been able to prove that. Not the Heritage Foundation, not the Department of Justice, not Trump's not one, but two independent groups that looked at the 2020 election, not Tina Peters, not anyone. No one's proven it. That's your third argument. This is stupid. Jenna, you need to fire your staff. The arguments should have started out with the Constitution, then go to the lack of fraud that is not there. Then we can roll out some other arguments as well. But those are your top two. And the fact, Jenna, that you didn't start with the Constitution makes me wonder if you've read it. Do you understand what your job is? Because someone that is Secretary of State should understand the Colorado Constitution and our nation's Constitution. You are the enforcement arm of elections. The fact in that question that you didn't lead with Article 1, Section 1, Clause 1, shame on you. Do you know what your job is? Do you know the parameters of your job? Do you understand how elections function in this country? That's where you had to start. And if you didn't and your staff didn't advise you to do that, they need to be docked pay, they need to be fired, you need new staff. It's an embarrassment, just as bad as Julie McCluskie's staff is.
I mean, Colorado
Stupid.
does require some form of identification with regards to voting, but it's really broad. So you have the valid passport, you have a driver's license, you have a pilot's license, you have a valid U.S. military identification. But then it gets kind of weird with a copy of a current utility bill, bank statement, government check, paycheck, or other government document that shows the name and address of the elector. That's where it breaks down for me, because when I went to that ICE rally, for instance, folks were talking about how illegal immigrants support themselves by doing DoorDash. Well, that's a paycheck, right? A certificate or degree of Indian or Alaskan Native blood, a valid Medicare or Medicaid card issued by the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services. Obviously, a birth certificate would work. A document of naturalization. A valid student identification card with a photograph of the eligible elector issued by an institute of higher education in Colorado. A student ID? But they allow illegal immigrants to go to class there. A valid veteran identification card and a valid identification card issued by a federally recognized tribal government. So it seems like, I mean, we already have these requirements, but what Trump wants to do is make sure that they're limited only to U.S. citizens, because there's some openings here that give me pause and concern. And if you're going to run the gold standard elections, why wouldn't you embrace that? But I mean, a paycheck or a student ID from a college? Seems too broad to me.
The other question I've got is, how do you verify the ID? Because remember, if we're going in, with mail-in ballots, what verification? It's a signature verification. But let's say that we all are everyone says, oh, just show up at the polls and vote on that day. Okay. What is the process and procedure to verify that identification? Normally, these are volunteers that are sitting behind a table and you sign a piece of paper. Are you just going to show, the people behind the table your ID? Great. So you're saying that the one way we are going to prevent fraud is by asking volunteers who normally are seniors to be able to tell whether or not an ID is legitimate. That's your bulwark. That's your levee break. That's it. You're depending upon stopping the fraudulent votes with volunteers trying to figure out if the ID is legit.
But look, Bill, you've got so many of these other concerns. Like if you get a driver's license, you're automatically registered to vote.
Yeah.
And then we do mass mail-in ballots. I do not believe Colorado is the gold standard. I think there's gaps here. Now, and then you allow ballot harvesting to take place as well.
Yeah, but
I like what Trump's doing here, trying to make sure that the people that are actually making decisions about the direction of our communities or the residents of those communities are here legally.
Does it matter at all that there hasn't been any studies, any investigation that have shown that is not the case, that residents of their communities are making the choices and doing the direction? Is there a problem that we haven't seen the fraud anywhere? That's the issue, is should we be starting and putting together a Bigfoot prevention security service here in Colorado? I mean, we haven't seen the big feet around, but there have been reports of big feet, lots of stories about big feet.
Asking that it would actually be a government-approved form of identification, I don't see as that big of a problem. I think it's a good check.
But how do you verify it?
But why?
How do you verify it, though? I show up at my polling place.
Yeah.
How are they verifying that what I have and what I'm showing them is a government ID?
Typically, when you show them your ID to vote in person, they match it with a registered address that they have.
Oh, that's tough. So I just have to go through the online look for addresses and pick a name and an address and then show up with a fake ID? I mean, again, if we are looking at someone as concerted fraud...
If you're concerned that someone could go through that level of fraud to get there, and therefore that becomes a justification for not having any ID?
Oh, I'm not justifying that. I'm not saying a justification for not having any ID. I'm asking about your verification process. If you want to advocate for a very stringent verification process, we can discuss that. But right now, the process in place is I show this ID to a volunteer that so far has very little, if any, training verifying a government ID.
But isn't that better than nothing?
How is that? No, because they don't know what they're doing.
Really?
No.
You don't think that's better than nothing?
No, not at all. No, because you're asking someone that is not trained in order to do that. No, it's basically...
I don't think it's fair to say they're not trained.
Here's the idea, okay, but not the idea to recognize the government ID and realize if it's a fraud or not, because, teenagers have shown us that producing fake IDs is relatively regular, and you can do it. So, again, if our motivation is we have all these people that are motivated to influence our elections and they shouldn't be able to, you don't think they would go through if they have that intent? I mean, again, we had a theory that Hugo Chavez and a server in Italy and satellites, that it was all this big, giant conspiracy. You're telling me the people that are in charge, if you believe the election fraud, the people in charge of the big giant conspiracy, getting all the fake ballots, all the fake registrations, they're not going to be able to execute fake IDs. You're not going to be able to.
Unique,
Come on.
That states that don't require government-issued IDs to vote are almost unanimously blue, while interesting that require government-issued IDs are going red? You don't find that interesting to you?
No, not at all, because, again, in those areas also, it's the same with voter registration. So you'd have to show me that there is a state that has a majority of Republican registrants and then are losing elections to a majority of Democrats with all these fake votes.
They're linking voter registration.
But you're going to have to show
they
that
come
to
together.
But you have to show me.
Automatic voter registration comes together with being a blue state.
Yeah, but you're going to have to show me that that's fraud. Where's the fraud? Because Heritage Foundation spent more than a decade looking and couldn't find a significant fraud. There's fraud in every election, but it's minor.
Yeah, right.
And we've had numerous investigations. We've had audits. We've had lawsuits over the 2020 election, and nobody's been able to prove a thing so far that would be significant fraud. So there's your proof about the idea.
I think
so
we're
this is a
arguing about
solution
two
looking
different
for a
things
problem.
here. I think we're arguing about two different things.
Yeah.
One is, and this is what I've always said about this election issue, is that the one way you can look at it is the scoreboard being adjusted. So do you have massive amounts of people dropping off illegitimate ballots in order to game the system? Or are the rules around the election in such a way that it allows one team to win versus the other? So when, for instance, you allow people to vote based upon paycheck stubs versus government-issued ID, well, lo and behold, you're tending to get Democrats that get elected. And the Democrats, like in this case with Jenna Griswold, fight really, really hard, like passionately, really hard to make sure that the rules of the election continue to bear out in their favor.
Well,
and then when Republicans require government ID, for instance, lo and behold, Republicans are winning. So it's an argument not necessarily about massive fraud, but whether or not the rules itself lend itself to Democrats winning these elections.
I believe you are drawing a spurious conclusion, because I believe you are starting with the idea that the ID then constrains the fake voters and allow Republicans to win. When it doesn't constrain the voters and allow Democrats to win. One, we'd have to verify those locations based on just voter registration. I can see the issue with pay stubs and bills and things like that. However, what we'd also have to then look at is what number of votes over the course of an election are done that way. How many people walk in with their paychecks, their bills, their things like that, and then do same-day registration and vote? Is it enough to swing an election? Is it a large number? Is it tens of thousands? Is it hundreds? Or is it dozens? Or is it just tens of people? What is the number? If it is a significant issue, I need to see the significance, because if I'm going to change these rules, I want to see it significant. And the reason it's important to me to change the rules is if it's just the ID, I go back to my original statement. How do we verify this ID is legit? If there is a grand cabal that organized a steal of 2020, how in the hell can't the cabal figure out fake IDs? If that is their motivation and their end game is to tilt the election illegally, they absolutely can produce the fake IDs. And if you don't think so, let's roll on up to CU Boulder and try to find a fake ID, because I'm certain you got a couple of people on campus there that'll sell them to you. So this is not necessarily a secure process or procedure that will weed out the illegality
to me, that doesn't
assumed.
lend itself to the argument that therefore we shouldn't have security measures there.
But you have to show me the harm, because the idea being, I mean, again, we go back to the Bigfoot example. We could say that we're really, really worried about Bigfoot attacks, but until you show me that there are a significant number of Bigfoot attacks, why am I taking that measure?
But
that's the issue.
It'd be a similar argument to go in, well, we shouldn't have these types of checks because kids are going to fake them and get alcohol anyways. Therefore, we shouldn't necessarily require bars to look for IDs just because kids can fake it. That's an important check, I think. But, Bill, to this point, 0459, Griswold can't hire you or can't fire staff because most of them quit already.
That's a good point. That is a really good point. But again, she should have started. Article 1, Section 1, Clause 1. President Trump does not have this power. The one thing that is outlined in the Elections Clause in our Constitution, and I'm throwing this at all your originalists, all you people that talk about what does the Constitution say, all you people that quote the Second Amendment and the First Amendment to us all day, every day, all the time, you originalists. Election Clause defines two groups that can change election laws, the states and Congress, not the president. This executive order is bunk. He can't do this.
Do you think it would be good, though, to have a requirement across the country that you have a valid government-issued ID to vote?
I would have to look at what
like
that ID is.
If Congress was like that. Well, I mean, we have a big list here. So it's a passport. It's or a driver's license, essentially, is what the president's saying.
Yeah, but the idea being, I have people in my family that are over the age and didn't get driver's licenses.
Okay,
so a couple of them would not be allowed
ID.
to. But what would the form of ID be?
Well,
but what is it?
You can still get an ID.
No, but what is? I mean, again, what is the ID? So
We're so late into this.
We got a break. I just looked at the clock.
When the producer comes by and is like, guys,
are you looking at the clock?
That's
No, we're not looking at
because
the
you
clock.
and I are so deep into this thing, we're not even paying
This
attention.
is what happens on the show. We get it so into this, and like, oh yeah, clock. Oh, sorry. Yeah, we got to run advertising. We got to make money.
All right.
We got to step aside.
You're
We gotta
listening
make the cash.
to, by the way, phone lines are open.
Yeah, I'll get to the phone. I got one person on hold. I haven't
You're
talked to you
listening
yet.
to the Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Station, News Talk 710 KNUS. It's 7:40 already.
All right, we're talking Donald Trump and Jenna Griswold squaring off again, this time over ID requirements for voting. Let's go to the phone lines. Mary, Wyoming. Good morning, Mary. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show.
Yeah, good morning.
Hi, good morning. I wanted to address some of the issues that Bill was bringing up. I am one of those little old ladies, and I was an election judge, and I received the first time in 2020. The poll books were handwritten. You had that, everything was, they were huge books that you had to go ahead and, look at somebody's driver's license. This election, it was all automated on the computer. And the program was amazing. I spent 72 hours in training. 2 days of it was actually on the computer with all the different scenarios you could possibly get. When we had, so in other words, if the information, the way it would come up on the computer, it would tell that you were a voter previously, that had voted. Since it was the first time, a lot of the documentation had to be corrected. In other words, because you had, when they voted before, maybe it was Don Jr. and their original record was Donald or something like that. But my point is that if it didn't match, then you got a provisional ballot. You had to sign an affidavit, and then we would issue you a provisional ballot. I don't know if you have any other questions.
That all seems reasonable. And the question I've got with that, though, is, and again, I'm being a little facetious on this, Mary, but does it worry you that you're doing...
You always are on my call.
Yes, I am, because I love you so much. And I love the way your brain works, and I love your lifetime experience, and I love how you come at things, and I really value you on the show. And does it worry you at all that we're doing this with computers because post-2020, the issue was those dastardly computers. That's how they're fixing these elections. They're going in and they're changing things because they're getting in and they're hacking all the computers. Is going to a computer something that you think is more secure, or should we going back to those handwritten rolls? What do you think?
Myself personally, I like the idea, but I think that it's given what I have seen with that system, the computer system is the way, because you had previous data on each of the voters when they showed up.
Yeah, and I would agree with you. I would do that with, and I think, Marion, thanks for the phone call. Unfortunately, I yapped too long, and so we ran out of time. But I think you're 110% right. We can agree. I believe the way that Wyoming's doing it with the computer verification, and since it can be done in laptops during the day of voting, that's a great way to verify whether or not the ID is real, because the person that shows up and the ID doesn't match gets a provisional ballot, and that's adjudicated later. And you could even send out a cure notice in case there were notices afterwards. Yes, that seems reasonable. That's a reasonable check. I appreciate that, Mary.
With the Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
So Donald Trump, Jenna Griswold squaring off. Donald Trump wants a certain set of IDs to be required to vote. In Colorado, we do have some form of IDs to vote, but where I have problems with it is when it gets into a copy of a current utility bill, bank statement, government check, paycheck, or other government document that shows the name and address of the elector. It's too broad for me. But the thing that just gets me is I look at, it seems like based upon the rules, certain parties win. So you have more liberal rules, I guess you could say. You don't require an actual government-issued ID to vote. Well, it seems like Democrats are winning quite well in those states. States that do require government-issued IDs to vote, Republicans are winning. It just makes me, as the old, I think, CNC Music Factory song says, things that make you go,
But then we'd have to look at the registration and those states, because chances are those states are already Republican, and chances are those other ones are already Democrat. So it's not as if it is, in my case, in my opinion, tilting the playing field. But the bottom line on it is Donald Trump doesn't get to make this choice. The Constitution is incredibly clear on this in the elections clause. This is not a choice the president gets to make. He is 110% wrong on this executive order because he doesn't have the power. If he wants this to be changed, then be presidential. Go to Congress, submit a bill, and get it moved through both houses.
What if Congress
That's what
came
you do.
up with a national voter ID? Would you support it?
It would depend on what it looked like and everything else. I know there have been attempts in the past, but they got to get it through Congress. If this is such a great idea, if it is,
what do you mean?
Get
What
through
do it
Congress.
look like? Like what?
It depends on how you're going to define government ID, how you're going to have the verification. Because again, what I worry about is just like in the conversation here, I feel that in some cases it is an assumption of fraud. That we know there's massive fraud taking place and our elections are dirty, so now we have to ferret it out by doing X, Y, and Z. No. Show me where the fraud is and what the issues are on fraud, and now we can come up with a solution that will prevent that. I need to see where the fraud exists before I'm going to have a solution. Just like you need to show me where the pipe is leaking before I have the plumber come into my house and fix it. I'm not going to have the plumber show up at my door and say you got a pipe leak.
A national voter ID with Elon Musk's chips in your arms so that you could vote according to that.
Yeah.
Speaking of sci-fi movies, then we can combine it all.
Yeah. Just for fun, if you want to have a little bit of horror reading, go read about what's happened with the Neuralink and when they were testing it on the monkeys. Go take a look at what happened in that situation. It will keep you up at night when you look at what those monkeys did to themselves.
You don't have to put the chip in your brain. You can just put it in your arm.
I'm just saying.
Have you seen those people that are like, let's put the chips in our arms so we could buy things at a vending machine?
No, here's
I'm
the thing.
like, I don't know. That
you already have that. It's in your pocket. It's called a phone. We already have the chip we're carrying around all the time. We've done it.
All right, we've got a lot to continue to talk about coming up in the, 8 o'clock hour? Darcy Shanning's joining us. She wants to be chairwoman of the Colorado GOP. Tomorrow's the big day. This is her last and final argument on the Jeff and Bill Show. Don't miss it. You're listening to Jeff and Bill.
This is Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
It's 8 a.m. in the Mile High City on this Friday, March 28th, 2025. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned in to the Jeff and Bill Show. News Talk 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights and hottest takes from the right, left, and center. Tomorrow's the big day. Republicans are going to be gathering to determine who the chairperson is, the new chairperson for Colorado Republican Party, because Dave Williams is not pursuing that role anymore. We've heard from a number of folks on this program. We've had Richard Holtorf, Danielle Neuschwanger, Britta Horn, Darcy Shanning. Darcy's going to join us here for her final argument as to why she should be elected chairwoman of the Colorado Republican Party. I've heard it's getting very intense. I'm not into the weeds with the Republican Party at this level, so I just kind of see some social media posts, but we'll get into some insight. And I'd love to hear from our callers, too. Tomorrow's the day. Who are you picking to be the chairperson of the Colorado Republican Party? Give us a call, 303-696-1971, or text us on the Dan Campos Law text line, 720-819-5115. Go ahead, Bill.
And I want to know if you are a Democrat or you're unaffiliated. What would be your choice? I'm not talking about constraining this just to the party. I just want to know everybody. If you had a vote, if this was something that was public, if this was a statewide vote and everyone got to play in the pool, who would you vote for, regardless of your party affiliation? I don't want this to just be Republicans. I would love to know who the Democrats think would be the strongest candidate to, that would really push and make it difficult, and then who they think the weakest one to beat might be as well. I'd be real curious about that.
Bill, and to your point this morning, I think there's plenty of independents out there who would like a little balance in the state after talking about Senator Julie or House Speaker Julie McCluskie and Jenna Griswold.
Yeah, so. After the dumbassery we've had from both of them this morning, yes, balance might be a good thing. So we'd be curious about who do you think would provide that? Yeah.
All right, now it's time for Blake Olson.
Blake Olson.
Blake Olson, news and comment.
.51 and cloudy in Denver. TGIF expecting a high of 77 today. The 7-10 5-day forecast is coming up. Our top story, Elon says he doesn't think he'll be working at Doge much longer, and that was the plan. He said he believes Doge will reach its goal amount of government waste and fraud removal within his 130-day mandate. That's the legal time frame given to a special government employee.
Well, I do agree that we actually want to be careful in the cuts. So we want to measure twice, if not thrice, and cut once. Actually, that is our approach. They may characterize it as shooting from the hip, but it is anything but that. Which is not to say that we don't make mistakes. If we were to approach this with the standard of making no mistakes at all, that would be like saying someone in baseball's got to bat 1,000. That's impossible. So when we do make mistakes, we correct them quickly, and we move on.
And tomorrow, the communist useful idiots are believed to be staging more protests at Tesla dealerships around the country. And Elon doesn't appreciate those criminals who've destroyed property or those who promote it.
They're being fed propaganda by the far left. Believe it. It's really unfortunate. But the real problem is not the people. It's not like the crazy guy that firebombs a Tesla dealership. It's the people pushing the propaganda that caused that guy to do it. Those are the real villains here, and we're going to go after them. And the president's made it clear we're going to go after them. The ones providing the money, the ones pushing the lies and propaganda, we're going after them.
The Department of Health and Human Services says that it's letting go of thousands of employees across several agencies. Health Secretary RFK Jr. says the restructuring will see the department consolidate from 28 to 15 divisions. Soylent Green and Logan's Run.
Every pleasure is yours to experience.
Runner! There's just one catch.
When the tiny crystal in the palm of your hand flashes its final message, your time is up.
Those movies come to mind when you listen to Colorado Speaker Julie McCluskie, who's so proud of her new bill that has her name on it. Let's save money by killing more babies.
That savings comes from the averted births that will not occur because abortions happened instead. So a birth is more expensive than an abortion. So the savings comes in Medicaid births that will not occur. This bill will actually decrease costs for our healthcare policy and financing department, our Medicaid expenditures in both this year and out years, as the savings from averted births outweigh the cost of covering reproductive health care for all Coloradans.
Wow, that's nice.
That
The
is great.
death
Now,
toll-
I
isn't that great?
gotta tell you something here, Blake.
Yeah.
Just because we were talking Logan Run, and I love that Logan's Run. And you're right, the crystals in the hands. I found online you can buy a series of the life crystals from Logan's Run as props and have them at home. And I'm just thinking that, wouldn't it be great if a bunch of people that were against this bill had those crystals and went down and had them on their hand during the debates? Yes.
I think that is I think that'd be a great idea. And then, like you said, have a run.
Yes, have
a
a
little
charity
2K
run. Yes.
on Logan Street.
Absolutely.
Logan's Run.
Yes, have Logan's Run. Yes. Yes.
Exactly.
And only the ones that make it cross within time limit stay. Everybody else, goodbye.
Gosh, I have no idea what you guys are talking about. I got to watch this movie.
You need to.
Yeah,
It's
you do.
pretty, It's
Yeah.
pretty good.
It is
man.
pretty good.
Both of them are. Soylent Green is great.
Yeah,
I mean, those
they are
those
both. Yeah, good sci-fi dystopian stuff.
Oh, you'll enjoy it
If you can
no
get past
doubt.
the haircuts. Yeah.
Exactly. Hey, DJT said Thursday the evidence is there, and we may see the proof soon about the 2020 election.
It was a very corrupt election. That was, you're talking about the second election, I assume. That was an election that I won. I won by a lot. And you're going to find that out. The documents are there. The numbers are there. We won that by a lot. We won 3 elections. And we did very well in the second one. Now, the third one, we blew it away. The third one, we said, too big to rig. And it was too big to rig. But that second election, it was the COVID nightmare, and a lot of that had to play. But that was a rigged election, totally rigged.
And then at a Tim Walz rally, which is funny by itself, really, a rally for that guy, this lefty says that the election was rigged. This election.
I hope they all have seen the reports from cybersecurity experts that they've released analyses of election data out of Clark County, Nevada, that
Nevada, by the way.
shows some pretty convincing evidence of election tampering. My biggest fear is that we're not going to make it to the midterms. So what can we do to make sure, A, that the midterms actually happen, and B, that they're free of fraud?
Yeah. Yeah. For the love of God. My biggest fear is she's going to talk again on mic. Hey, it's opening day. Rockies get started today in Tampa at 2:10. Rockies and the Rays. Nuggets and the Jazz tonight. Avs shut out the Red Wings. NCAA tournament continues in DU in their 16th straight NCAA hockey tournament. All right, 49 in Highlands Ranch, 49 in North Glen, and 51 in Denver. Jeff and Billy continue without Jazz Man Crockett.
So, y'all think y'all bothering me? I'm out getting my nails done. Okay? Yeah, that's what I'm out here doing. I'm out here getting my nails done. And I'm hitting the streets after this interview.
She's hitting the streets. Terrence Williams, Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
The beautiful spring weather we've enjoyed all week is going to come to an end this weekend and certainly next week. Temperatures, though, still making the 70s today, increasingly cloudy. Afternoon showers. Lows tonight near 40, some overnight showers. Cooler Saturday, just 50s with showers redeveloping after some morning showers. Showers late Saturday, areas of rain and snow showers Saturday night, into the day Sunday and colder. Lower 30s Saturday night, high Sunday 40s. Weather sponsored by Colorado's Best Roofing, reminding you to protect your home from the harsh Colorado weather and schedule your free no-obligation roof inspection today at roofingcolorado.com. That's roofingcolorado.com. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
All right, tomorrow's the big day. Republicans gathering to choose the next chairman of the Colorado Republican Party, and she's been on the show multiple times. This is her final round of arguments as to why she should be selected as chairwoman of the Colorado Republican Party. Darcy Schoening joins us via Zoom. Good morning, Darcy. Thanks for joining the Jeff and Bill Show.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning,
Jeff and Bill. Thanks so much for having me today.
I imagine it's been a wild last few weeks for you all, getting all over the state, meeting with Republicans. You're going to win tomorrow.
Yes, of course I am.
What gives you the confidence?
You know what? It's just a feeling. It's like a calm that I haven't had in other elections, even with other candidates. There's been a lot of attacks. Like there's attacks coming at me right now, Jeff, that are worse than what I've gone through with the Democrats, and they're from our people. So all I wanted to do was run for chair and work for these people, and the attacks are so bad. But what's great is it's just a few people doing that, and I feel like my supporters and most people in the party are coming around me and saying, look, like you've done the work, we love what you do, and we're kind of putting our arms around you. And so I kind of have this calm. So I hope that continues until tomorrow.
We're talking with Darcy Schoening. Now, give folks some insight into what's going to happen tomorrow. Even a guy like me who's been involved in the conservative movement for decades, it's a complicated process. There's a select number of people that make the choice. So for folks that aren't familiar with it, what happens tomorrow?
Sure. So recently, all the counties in Colorado had their reorganizational meetings. And in those meetings, the county precinct leaders and district captains select their leadership. So their chair, vice chair, secretary, and bonus members. Those people make up the county leadership. And then all the county leadership comprises the state central committee. And so it's the state central committee and the state elected officials that vote for the chair tomorrow. It'll probably be a really long meeting because they're going to hear some controversies first, and then most of the time these things go into multiple rounds.
So tomorrow, will you have a moment to make your pitch to the state central committee?
All the candidates that are declared nominated will each have 8 minutes to be nominated and make their case to the state central committee about why they should be the next leader for the Colorado GOP.
So from my understanding with the rules, somebody could be nominated from the floor. So you have a handful of folks that have raised their hands already, said, yes, we want to seek this position. You could have some surprise people come tomorrow. Give us a little insight. Give us a preview of what your 8-minute speech is going to look like tomorrow to members of the Colorado Republican State Central Committee.
Well, I'm just going to wrap up my final 8 minutes of talking to the State Central Committee by saying, if you don't know me by now, then this is who I am. I've been sending nonstop communications, calling everybody. They've seen me going around the state. But my campaign has been really heavy on communications. Like we're texting every day, emailing every day. I think I'm the only candidate for chair that sent out mail pieces to the voters. So I feel like I've really gotten my platform out there. And tomorrow I just want to spend the time before the vote talking to the members and listening to them and just enjoying my time seeing everybody from around the state.
We're talking with Darcy Schoening. She's seeking to become the next chairwoman of the Colorado Republican Party. Darcy, you've met with state central committee members. You've made communication a key part of your campaign. What are you hearing back from state central committee members, maybe the top 3 issues they want to see in the next chairwoman of the Colorado Republican Party?
Well, of course, everybody says they want to be unified. They want the bickering to stop. They want a unified party. They want somebody that's going to keep everybody focused and working on our goals and working in line. They want to see somebody that's candidate focused. So they want candidates to get elected, which is pretty common sense for the Republican Party. And then most of them are saying that they want primary neutrality and to opt out of the open primaries.
All right, let's talk about unification. Look, it's a campaign. It's an election. You're going to have division. The whole point is division, right? You're going to try to get 51% or enough to win this. So tell us how you bring about unification on Sunday, right? So you win on Saturday. You become the new chairwoman of the Colorado Republican Party. All right, Sunday, now the focus becomes defeating Democrats, and you're going to need as many Republicans to do that as you can. Tell me about, in your mind, how the process of unification takes place.
Well, it just starts on day one of, as I continue to say, stressing our goals to the body, outlining clear goals and directives to the body as to how we're going to get candidates elected. Because it's not enough to say we're going to get more Republicans elected. We have to have processes and an infrastructure for that. So I plan to start building that on day one, bring in those donors that have already donated to my Build Our Benches campaign, really get them back involved in the party, build their confidence. And once we start rebuilding the donor confidence and the trust with the counties, there's a lot of counties that are saying, I don't hear from the leadership enough. So once we start rebuilding that trust with the counties, the elected officials, everybody across the state, then that's how we're unified. We're not going to always agree, but if we're all working towards the same goals, then that's as unified as we can possibly be, and that's how we win.
We're talking with Darcy Schoening. She's running for chairwoman of the Colorado Republican Party. Let's talk a little bit about candidate recruitment. That's going to be key. You mentioned candidate focus, getting those candidates to win. It's hard to step up as a Republican to win right now. We're losing statewide by 20 points. What's your plan to bring back some sanity to the state? In fact, the previous 2 hours we had before having you on, we were talking about Speaker Julie McCluskie saying that the state can save money by aborting babies, and then Jenna Griswold challenging Donald Trump and saying, we don't want you weighing in on our elections. But by the way, we don't have clear identification requirements in this state. So there's a desperate need for some sanity back in this state. How do you get Republicans to start winning again?
Well, it's about bringing the right message to the unaffiliated and meeting the voters where they're at. And as I've continued to stress, showing the voters what it means to be a Republican. Like I say, our communities are safer, our schools are better, our cities are cleaner, there's less crime. So it's about bringing that message out and re-energizing the voters, re-energizing the Hispanic community, the Black community, the LGBT community, our young Republicans. And when we do those things, when we share the message of, dinner table issues and what's affecting our Republicans across the state, that's how we bring people to the table. That's how we bring more voters to our side. We bring more volunteers, more precinct leaders, and we bring unity. So it's just about doing all the things that it takes to become a cohesive organization.
Darcy Schoening, candidate for Colorado GOP party chair, joining Jeff and Bill live. I appreciate what you said about that right message. In your opinion, Darcy, what is preventing that message from currently resonating, or why hasn't it been used in the past?
I think that it has been used to a certain extent, but not as effectively and as heavily as it should be. I mean, if you think back to all the chairs in recent memory, you by and large really just see social issues being promoted or heavy on the Second Amendment, which is great. Like, we've got to fight for our Second Amendment rights, but by and large, those aren't the issues that average, everyday Coloradans are concerned with. So we definitely have to stand for our children. We can't back down from the education fight or the fact that the Democrats are transing children and performing these horrible surgeries. But to reach the unaffiliated voters, to reach the young Republicans and those voters that typically don't come to us, we go to them. we have to talk about those average everyday issues that get them energized and get them fired up about their lives and their families.
That's a candidate for the Colorado Party chair. Vote is going to be taken this weekend. That's Darcy Schoening that you're hearing. I appreciate what you're talking about as far as the message, but I think it also might highlight one of the hurdles that I think sits in your way, and that is, in my opinion, you're part of the current leadership. That if that was the resonant message, if that was going to be so persuasive, why isn't current party leadership using that? Why isn't this the focus if this is the answer?
Well, I mean, so, Bill, you and I have talked about this on the show before, where we have, people have kind of assigned a losing stature to Chair Williams this time around and said, you got to distance yourself as much as possible. And look, I have distanced myself from that administration. I'm not Dave, I'm not Hope, and I'm not Anna, and I think people clearly see that. But at the same time, the voting body is a different entity than the general population or than the Republican population. And the voting body has definitely, the social issues resonate more with the voting body. Let's put it that way. So you've got two different populations that you're dealing with, which is, one of the problems in Colorado.
That's a good answer, and I think it's a fair critique. So I want to go a little bit further on that, and the idea of, okay, missing some of the message, some messages need to be more divergent, etc., focusing on where it's going to resonate. So given that's the direction that you want, and that's what you see going forward, how would you grade the current administration, specifically the leadership of Dave Williams, on accomplishing that? Let's go with the grade school scale, A, B, C, D, F. How would you grade current administration, understanding that based on that grade, it also adds justification or takes away justification for a change in direction? What's the grade you give?
So the grade you're asking, Bill, the grade I would give for the current administration's ability to reach the voters with everyday issues or reach them with the correct messaging? Is that
Yes.
what you're asking?
Yep. Yeah. What do you think their effectiveness has been? How would you grade them?
Probably a C-.
Interesting.
So not like a total failure, but just, missing the mark. Perhaps sometimes words off, emails off, like we've talked about on previous shows, not even talking about the average. I mean, before I came along to the party, nobody was talking about education. Nobody was talking about local policy. So, I mean, it was pretty much all social issues.
Now, Darcy Schoening, candidate for Colorado GOP party chair, making the argument voting is going to go on this weekend, making her final pitch to our audience. We appreciate the time. I like where you've gone with that, because what I think is, now again, you can disagree with me on the critique here, but I think what you're outlining is part of the problem that the Democrats had on a national level. In my opinion, the reason that Kamala Harris's message didn't resonate with the average voter is she was focused many times on some social issues, and she ignored the pain points that the average voter was feeling. When she came out and said, no, the economy is going to be doing great, you all are going to be doing better, and everyone was struggling to put food on the table, they didn't believe her. Yeah. And I think what you've done there, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you've outlined the idea that it's just having the wrong conversation about the wrong things, and there's a better way to connect with voters. Is that fair?
That's totally fair.
Cool.
I mean, you have you've got to meet the voters where they're at. And I'll use Palmer Lake nearby as an example. So Palmer Lake, the mayor of Palmer Lake, who's now in her second term, she ran a nonpartisan campaign and has won twice on that. It's a small town. There's 1,200 voters. The issues that matter in Palmer Lake are developing a sidewalk through town, whether they're going to restore the old church in town, and recreational marijuana. And if you're not talking about those issues, you're not getting elected. And you can kind of use Palmer Lake as just a tiny little example of the greater Republican Party, the greater political atmosphere of Colorado. If you don't meet the voters where they're at, you're not going to get elected. You don't convince the voters of anything. It doesn't work that way.
We're talking with Darcy Schoening. Big vote tomorrow to be chairwoman of the Colorado Republican Party. Britta Horn, Lori Sain, Richard Holtorf, they're all in the race. And people could be nominated from the floor. So have we heard what Dave Williams is going to do next? I get that question a lot, and I'm not sure I know what he's doing next. Do you know?
I believe that he has some type of position, but I can't really speak on that too in depth yet because I don't know the specifics.
Now, tonight, Steve Bannon is going to be down at the Colorado Republican Party. How's that shaping up? I know you're part of the current administration, so you're probably part of the planning of that event. How's it looking tonight?
It's going to be a long day, Jeff. I have not slept yet, and it's just going to be a long day. So there's a lot of protests planned, not only outside of Boot Barn / Phil Long, but also a lot of protests planned at Bass Pro Shops next door. The left is really going to get crazy tonight. So I scheduled 5 police officers outside. There's now a little bit of discontent with venue, police, leadership. So there's a lot of things that are going a little bit sideways. So let's just hope Colorado Republicans gather tonight, God willing. I'm trying to hold it together, but let's just hope that this dinner goes off tonight.
I've had to plan 8 years of events like that with major political figures, with lots of protests. Obviously, the security and the safety of everybody involved is the most important thing. You still want the event to go on, so you rely on law enforcement to help you with that. So it's not easy. By any means, not easy at all, and the left can be vicious and terrible. So hopefully they'll be at bay. Bill, I may have to go interview them because when I interview them, they tend to go viral. So maybe I'll go out there, and I'm planning to attend the event, and I'll go down there and talk with some of the folks.
Yeah, I'm not going to be at the event, Darcy, because I do not have that much time over the weekend to clean off all the tar and feathers, because that's what would happen to me there. I'm not saying I don't deserve it. I'm just saying I don't have the time.
Well, Darcy, it's a big day day today for you, and then tomorrow we thank you so much for visiting with us multiple times to share your position, meeting with our listeners, and always being willing to answer questions. We're grateful for you, and best of luck tomorrow.
Thank you so much. Thanks for always giving all of us candidates a platform. And I'd like to remind everybody, no matter who wins tomorrow, they'll do a great job, and we got to get behind them. So thank you, guys.
Stopping the crazy Democrats, as we have heard all this morning, is going to be really important. Darcy Schoening.
Yes, that was really nice.
I mean, and you see all the videos on social media of them just scrolling, coloring, putting stickers on things, playing video games, watching TikToks. They don't care about the debate anymore. And it's because they have so much power. And
you know what I do?
What's that?
I would do that thing where, especially when you're having testimony, is I would do like we're in school, and you would have like a master at arms stand there, and as the representatives or senators go by, they have to drop their cell phone into a box.
There you go.
And you can have your cell phone out of the box after the end of the hearing if you're going to take testimony and things. That's what I would do. I even would. I mean, I'm not opposed to jamming cell phone service inside the well of our Capitol. Turn it off. You don't get to use your phones in there. You have to pay attention. You're in school.
Yeah. Well, literally, this is what you're paid to do.
Yep.
There's taxpayer dollars for you to listen, no matter how crazy the testimony is or worthless you think it is. You're collecting a check to be there.
Yeah, back in the day when you were on your computer in the office and a boss rolls by and you're not able to minimize Minesweeper quickly enough, that's on you. Same thing here. No more Minesweeper. No more solitaire. Just saying.
All right, tomorrow's a big day. Phone lines are open. Who do you want to be the new chairperson of the Colorado Republican Party? And we're by no means limiting it to just Republicans. If you're an independent or Democrat and you'd like to see a particular person, whether that's Richard Holtorf, Britta Horn, Lori Sain, Darcy Schoening, Danielle Neuschwanger, or somebody else that maybe even needs to be nominated from the floor, who can turn the Colorado Republican Party into a force of victory in the state of Colorado? Phone lines open 303-696-1971, 303-696-1971, or text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line 720-819-5115. Well, I want to talk to you about our good friends over at the Art of Granite. Look, are you tired of your outdated kitchen or bathroom? Dreaming of sleek granite, luxurious marble, or the modern look of quartz? At the Art of Granite, they believe your home is a canvas. Owner and master craftsman Mitch Floria personally collaborates with each client, ensuring every detail is perfectly executed. From small vanities to complete kitchen overhauls, they do it all. And the best part, Mitch cuts out the middleman. He sources premium granite, marble, and quartz directly from his Denver West warehouse, offering you wholesale prices. Right now, an incredible offer exclusively for KNUS listeners. All you got to do is mention KNUS and get a free bathroom countertop with new kitchen countertops, or choose a free kitchen or bathroom sink with any countertop package. So don't wait. Transform your home into the oasis you deserve. Schedule your free consultation with Mitch today. Visit their stunning showroom in Denver West or go to theartofgranite.com. That's theartofgranite.com. All you have to mention KNUS for those exclusive savings. All right, we'll continue with the Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Darcy Shannon giving Dave Williams and the administration she's part of a C-. Was it C-?
Yeah, it was. That was shocking.
Holy cow.
I was real surprised.
She's definitely gone on a journey, because when we first got together, she was very complimentary of Dave Williams and his leadership and some of the wins we had, right? Look, I mean, you look at the numbers. Colorado Republicans won in the House to the point where there's no longer a Democrat supermajority.
Yeah,
and then you had Gabe Evans win, and Jeff Crank, and Lauren Boebert, Jeff Hurd.
Yeah, there's some wins to point
to. You got 4 Republican congressmen, men and women, elected. So
I do that too.
There's evidence out there that they did, somewhat well during the last election.
Yeah.
It wasn't losses. Bad.
I don't have a fight. I don't have a dog in this fight. I don't get to vote, and nor would they allow me if I showed up, and that's okay, and that's fair to them, and I understand. However, there is something that I think is very complimentary to what Darcy was saying about the messaging, but also coming at it and saying that we missed the mark on messaging. That is difficult to do being a current member of the administration. It is an incredibly difficult line to walk, to say that, yes, we did some good things, but we failed on these other things, and I think we can do better on X, Y, and Z. That is not easy to do, and I will give her flowers for coming on our show, the Jeff and Bill Show, and having some critique to the current administration that she is a part of, and offering some different paths forward as to where she felt it failed. In fact, that was what I thought was one of the failures of the Kamala Harris campaign, that Kamala wasn't hard enough on what Joe Biden had done. And she didn't have to torch Joe Biden, and nor did Darcy torch Dave Williams, but she said, based on these messages that seem to resonate, and I love the fact that she talked about focusing on the localities and tailoring your message there to get people elected. I think she's right on how to do this. I think that her plan, regardless of who's in charge, her plan is fairly solid. Again, I just don't want to choose one person or the other, because again, my vote doesn't matter.
She creates a unique distinction on social issues and economic issues.
Yes,
and
which is very
smart. I think what's people are looking for, this is what I've learned on the social issues.
Yeah.
Obviously, they want you to stand strong on the principles, right?
Yeah, yep.
And I think a lot of people understand that the primary issues driving, I think, a lot of voters in Colorado, at least the independent voters, is probably more economic.
Yep. Oh, I would agree.
But you can focus in on economic without weakening your commitment to social issues.
Yeah.
And I think that's the right balance there, right? So
I agree, yeah.
If I was to run out as a candidate, let's say I was going to run statewide.
Oh, yeah.
And you guys all know where I stand on the sanctity of life. It's probably the most important issue to me.
Yeah.
But if I made that the top issue in a state that just went like 70-30 for a constitutional amendment on abortion, it's going to be very hard to win that.
Oh yeah, and,
right?
and if I was your campaign manager, what I would present to you is say I am fervently pro-life.
Yes.
This is really important to me, but I'm not being elected king. I'm here to represent my constituents, and whatever that body is, if it is a local, if it's just part of the state, if it's an entire state, whatever it is, I'm going to represent what they want to have happen, because I am there to give them a voice. And if the constituency right now is mostly pro-choice, then I will reinforce those, but I will ask questions, I will push back, and I will offer reasonable restrictions, but I will listen to my constituents on what they would like to have happen before I say that it's my choice to make. It's their choice to make, and that's why I want them to make the choice.
I understand that.
Yeah.
That is the idea that you, as an elected official, essentially represent the will of your voters. And that's one way to think about being an elected official. The other way is to think that I need to lead because this is the field I'm an expert in.
Yep.
And ergo, I'm going to push in areas that sometimes my constituents don't necessarily feel the most comfortable.
Oh, but I think you're right on that just for a second. And the reason that's why I went with the idea of I believe this, but my broader electorate doesn't, and I recognize what they're saying because I think you can thread that hole. I think you can and I'm only talking about the abortion issue. Because of Colorado, because of your position, what the electorate is. That's the only reason I would advise that. But yeah, continue.
And in another area, the way you can think about it is a guy like Donald Trump, who is so forceful in his personality that you can go, I disagree with him in certain areas, but I really want him because of this. So I'm willing to compromise as a voter in order to achieve it. So I might be slightly pro-choice, but for instance, with Donald Trump, I'm slightly pro-choice, let's say that. And then you go, well, he's so good on the economy that's what I'm going to put him in there for. And I'm not necessarily going to get pulled into the other social issues.
Yeah.
So the electorate kind of has to meet whether or not you're going to prioritize social issues as well.
And I think that's also based on who you're running against. Because and I think it changes, because if the alternative is, well, I want abortions to be performed at the local 7-Eleven and get a free Slurpee, that's a different argument. So you being a little pro-choice is a little better at that point. So it's all based on what it looks like. Yeah.
And Democrats in Colorado are kind of getting close to that.
Yes, they are. Yes.
Oh my goodness. So, who do I think's going to win tomorrow?
Yeah, who do you think? I'll tell you who I think's going to win, but again, I don't get the votes.
It gets really complicated because the people in the room are a very unique set of engaged activists.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Like, they're the most engaged. You think I'm engaged in Republican. There's a whole nother level that I haven't even gotten to.
They're the people that show up to the convention in the cosplay outfits.
Yes, exactly.
That's who they are. If you want to talk about who it is, that's who that is.
Bill, that's perfect because that's who's going to make the decisions tomorrow. Yep. So to try to put myself in their shoes, you have to think a little bit differently. Britta Horn has the momentum of what I would say was the Republican Party from 2012-ish, the more kind of Ryan called Dick Wadhams side of things, right? That form of Republican, I think, is looking at Britta Horn to right the ship after what's happened the last few years, and then particularly under Dave Williams. So that is the most clear person in the race that's a reaction against the current administration. So if you're like really frustrated with the current administration, I think you tend to break towards Britta Horn.
Yeah.
Then with the most ardent grassroots kind of deeply committed conservatives, you essentially have a split between Lori Sain, Richard Holtorf, and Darcy Schoening.
Yeah, Darcy, yeah.
And that split is going to be interesting because if that rest of that pie gets split into three, is it enough for Britta to – and I don't know if you have to get to 51.
Yeah, how does it break? I don't remember, but how does it break and who's going to cannibalize
Can it be a
voters?
Plurality? Like, is it just the most – or do you have to get to 51? Ergo, you could have the Greg Lopez incident.
Yep, exactly.
Where the people – don't necessarily want to support each other. They've been campaigning against each other. They don't like each other. They're not going to tell their delegates to go support one of the others. So Britta tends to get more and more and more.
Yeah, it's like Brewster's Millions and none of the above. Yeah, and so that's the idea is if those other ones begin to cannibalize. And it's for me, I think that Darcy and Britta are the two horses that you would bet on. Those would be the two that I think have the lead right now. I think Lori Sain does have a shot, but I think it's outside. And I really, really like Richard Holtorf, but I think he is chosen poorly based on a running mate. I think the
question you have for Danielle Neuswanger is where were you during the last election?
That's tough. And the problem that, and again, because these are the cosplayers, because these are the hardcore of the party, the idea that you left the party and ran against the party after promising to support the eventual nominee of the party, how is that going to be palpable? How's that going to be anything that you can take? Because it's the idea that you said one thing And then you left, and not only did you not support the nominee, you went and actively ran against the party, and now you think you can help lead the party. That is a really, really, for where I am, that's a really tough hill to climb, especially given that party registration for Neuschwanger was turned back to Republican in January. Only been back in the game for several months. That means not even during the last election was she registered as a Republican when we were choosing Trump or Harris. She didn't have an R by her name, which after she lost the bid for governor, that could have been a paperwork issue. So she didn't make that choice then, but she made the choice in January. That, in my mind, calls into some question some of the motivation and commitment to the cause. I like Richard a lot. I think he chose poorly.
I was a member of a church, a rather large church in the Denver metro area that was hiring people, and it was part of a denomination, and you're supposed to hire from within the denomination, right? So go look for somebody that spent years committed to the principles of the denomination, and they kept hiring people. And I would be like the no vote in this, because they would offer the pastor who was getting paid like $250.
Ooh.
And it's not a bad deal because
at
it's a
all.
big mega church. But by the way, Bill, here's your $250,000 salary. You just got to do some paperwork and join our denomination. Do you think anybody's not going to do that paperwork?
Oh, heck no. Dude, I'm telling you, I'm just saying that if it was 250 G's, I'm changing my registration for Republican tomorrow and running for the state party chair if that's what the paycheck is. I will do that tomorrow.
And it just never sat well with me. And in one case, it ended up being a disaster because he never really fit. And eventually he resigned and all that stuff. It was a big problem. But, I mean, you hired the guy, offered him the salary, and then all he had to do was sign some paperwork to join the denomination. Of course he's going to do it.
Of course.
What you should have done is gone out there and looked for somebody who spent the last 10 years working in the denomination because it shows commitment. Anyways.
Exactly. Great point.
Who do you think is going to win tomorrow? Darcy? Richard Holtworth? Britta Horn? Lori saying somebody else? Someone saying Rich Wyatt may seek the nomination? Do you think that could happen with American Guns?
Does that help anything? Yeah, how large is that? How large is that contingent? Does that help anything? And if Rich Wyatt gets in, does he pull votes away from someone else that he would like to have there, and he's going to end up with the person he doesn't want because of siphoning off
Bill,
votes?
do you know who brilliantly navigated a situation like this to end up becoming the president of the United States?
Who?
Abraham Lincoln.
Oh, that makes sense, yeah.
He showed up with the strategy, I don't need to be anybody's first, but I hope I could be everybody's second choice.
Yeah.
And as the contentious convention took place and emotions were going, lo and behold, they made Abraham Lincoln the
Oddly
nominee.
enough, that was my pitch to most of my dates in high school. I know I'm not your first choice, but
I'm happy to be your second.
Yes, exactly. That's
All
my
right.
life.
You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Got a text messages for lots on this decision tomorrow on who's going to be the chairperson of the Colorado Republican Party. You go. 24 said, don't worry, Trump's going to win big. He's saying definitely not Britta Horn tomorrow. Interesting. All right, you're listening to Jeff and Bill.
This is 710 KNUS.
It is 9 a.m. in the Mile High City on this Friday, March 28th, 2025. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710. KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights, hottest takes from the right, left, and center. Congratulations. You're waking up in the greatest country in history. Let's kick it off. We got an entire hour planned for you of engaging conversations, critical analysis. Most importantly, though, your phone calls and texts, because this is where Denver's voice is heard loud and clear. All right, coming up. So excited to talk with her. Always appreciate when she comes on the show. The editor-in-chief of Westword magazine is joining us. Always found them to be very fair, very balanced. Even though we may disagree policy-wise, her reporters always gave me fair treatment, which I appreciated. People like Mike Roberts. Now, they've got their best of 2025 out, and there's a lot to talk about here. So we're going to have some fun with Patricia Calhoun. You're not going to want to miss it. But now is time for Blake Olson.
Blake Olson.
Blake Olson, news and comment.
Good morning. TGIF 56 and cloudy in Denver, expecting a high of 77 today. The 7-10 5-day forecast is coming up. Our top story.
Bring in those donors that have already donated to my Build Our Benches campaign, really get them back involved in the party, build their confidence.
Big day tomorrow for the GOP. Darcy Schoening is running and feels good about her chances to chair the GOP. She was on with Jeff and Bill last hour.
It's just a feeling. It's like a calm that I haven't had in other elections, even with other candidates. There's been a lot of attacks. Like, there's attacks coming at me right now, Jeff, that are worse than what I've gone through with the Democrats. And they're from our people. So all I wanted to do was run for chair and work for these people, and the attacks are so bad. But what's great is it's just a few people doing that, and I feel like my supporters and most people in the party are coming around me and saying, look, like, you've done the work, we love what you do, and we're kind of putting our arms around you. And so I kind of have this calm.
I love this on Truth Social, DJT 50 minutes ago. D.C. must become clean and safe again. We need our great police back on the street with no excuses from the mayor or anyone else. The House should take up the D.C. funding fix that the Senate has passed and get it done immediately. We need to clean up our once beautiful city and make it beautiful again. We will be tough on crime like never before. And DJT said if he doesn't get help from the mayor, he will do it himself. Elon says he believes Doge will reach its goal amount of government waste, fraud, and corruption removal within his 130-day mandate. That's the legal time frame given to a special government employee.
We are cutting the waste and fraud in real time. So every day that passes, our goal is to reduce the waste and fraud by $4 billion a day, every day, 7 days a week. And so far, we are succeeding.
And Elon thinks that we need to root for an end to the war in Ukraine and Russia and stop pumping up the endless death and destruction involving the Ukrainians and Russians and Americans, as we saw on Thursday, who have lost their lives.
I take great offense at those who put the appearance of goodness over the reality of it. Those who virtue signal and say, oh, we can't give in to Russia, but have no solution to stopping thousands of kids dying every day. They just want that to continue forever. I have contempt for such people. I don't want to make that clear.
Yeah. So you're optimistic.
Because their virtue signaling and their lack of a solution means that kids don't have a father. It means that parents lost a son. For what? Nothing.
The Department of Health and Human Services says it's letting go of thousands of employees across several agencies. Health Secretary RFK Jr. says the restructuring will see the department consolidate from 28 to 15 divisions. Soylent Green and Logan's Run, those are movies that come to mind when you listen to Colorado Speaker Julie McCluskie, who's celebrating savings by killing more babies instead of, I don't know, maybe promoting life, healthy families, and trying to reduce welfare.
The bill requires an increase to general fund of $1.5 million to cover the cost for care. But again, a reminder that ultimately the state will see a cost savings. And ultimately, it is truly an honor to be here carrying this bill alongside Rep. Garcia. And I ask for your support of Senate Bill 183.
increase.
That savings comes from the averted births that will not occur because abortions happened instead. So a birth is more expensive than an abortion.
Wow. The death toll remains unknown at this hour after a massive earthquake shook parts of Southeast Asia. The magnitude 7.7 quake struck around midday local time in central Myanmar, where officials are warning there could be numerous fatalities. The quake also caused death and destruction hundreds of miles away in Bangkok. The 25% tariffs that start next week on all autos and auto parts imported to the U.S. are impacting Detroit tourism. There's tourism in Detroit. The Ambassador Bridge and the Detroit... I'm sorry, that's the first thing I thought of. Man. And the Detroit Windsor Tunnel both experienced a notable decline in travelers February, through the threat of tariffs to DJT. My college roommate used to live in Detroit, and he used to tell me, come on, please, really?
Hey, honey,
really
guess where we're going for spring break? Detroit!
Let's go to Detroit. Oh, my goodness. When I saw that, I'm like, who is writing this? I think I know who. It's impacting the tourism in Detroit. I'm glad you laughed at that. DJT said Thursday the evidence is there, and we may see proof soon about the 2020 election.
It was a very corrupt election. That was, you're talking about the second election, I assume. That was an election that I won. I won by a lot. And you're going to find that out. The documents are there. The numbers are there. We won that by a lot. Mm-hmm. We won 3 elections, and we did very well in the second one. Now, the third one, we blew it away. The third one, we said too big to rig, and it was too big to rig. But that second election, it was the COVID nightmare, and a lot of that had to play. But that was a rigged election, totally rigged.
I love that dude, man. I cannot stop listening to him. I don't know how he gets any rest. He obviously sounds like he didn't sleep on that cut, but man, I love it. Oh, America's back. It's opening day for the Rockies. They get it started in Tampa today at 2:10. Nuggets and Jazz tonight. We have NCAA basketball tournament today and DU hockey, college hockey, 16th straight tournament that they've been in the playoffs, postseason. And the Avs shut out the Red Wings last night. 53 in Parker, 54 in Westminster, 56 in Denver. Jeff and Billy continue without Jazzman Crockett.
You got the hood Jasmine, okay? You know what I'm saying? You got the hood Jasmine. This Jasmine Crockett right here, the new Jasmine. So you know what, Benny? You sure right. I switched up because you know what? I had to step up, okay, and show y'all that we not playing no more. That y'all not like us, okay? So yeah, you got it right, Benny. I am the new Jasmine Crockett. Yes, I switched up. And you know what? And I ain't switching up no damn more at all, okay? Because I'm not going to play with y'all in my country.
Terrence Williams, support him. Have a great weekend. Blake, don't go to Detroit. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
The beautiful spring weather we've enjoyed all week is going to come to an end this weekend and certainly next week. Temperatures, though, still making the 70s today, increasingly cloudy. Afternoon showers. Lows tonight near 40, some overnight showers. Cooler Saturday, just 50s with showers redeveloping after some morning showers. Showers late Saturday. Areas of rain and snow showers Saturday night, into the day Sunday and colder. Lower 30s Saturday night, high Sunday 40s. Weather sponsored by Colorado's Best Roofing, reminding you to protect your home from the harsh Colorado weather and schedule your free no-obligation roof inspection today at roofingcolorado.com. That's roofingcolorado.com. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
All right, there's this great Simpsons episode where Homer Simpson does everything that the new billboards at the top of the month come out and tell him to do. I think one's join clown college is one. And so he stops at each billboard to take note of what he needs to do in the new month in light of these new billboards. And it's a little bit how I feel about Westword's Best of Denver, because it covers things I would have never even thought about that are just kind of fun. Like very cool things like the best hidden gem, the best museum if you only have an hour, the best place to feel like a kid again, the best reason to drive to Loveland.
That is fantastic.
Like, the levels of creativity in this are so much fun.
Yeah.
So I love it when it came out, and it came out this week, and it's the Best of Denver 2025.
Yeah, but there was something missing. There was something missing.
I know. And the reason I kept checking this year is because I wanted to see if we got it again this year.
You and me both. And I kept going, God, I'm an idiot. I can't find it. And so I'm scrolling through it. I think that the Westword page probably has at least an extra dozen views plus, because I went to different computers thinking, I started on my phone, went to another laptop, then I went to a desktop, and I'm like, I know it's got to be here. And I'm going, I'm just an idiot. Yeah. But no, the category didn't exist, but that's okay. That is okay.
And we'll ask her why. But joining us is the editor-in-chief and I think founder of Westword, Patricia Calhoun. Patricia, thanks so much for joining the Jeff and Bill Show.
Good morning. Thank you.
It's my pleasure. Yes, 2024's best radio talk show host.
Yes, but they say that
still.
Yes, if they book a boxing match and you come out as the champion, and then they don't ever book another boxing match, you still get the belts. I think this means that we still rule the roost.
I think you can hold that thought until the 2026 edition.
Woo! I'm claiming that.
Oh,
I literally put it everywhere. I'm like, it might even be in my email signature. Westword's Best of Denver Top Talk Radio Show.
Absolutely. So, this is fantastic. This is beautiful.
Now, Patricia, how long have you been doing the Best of Denver?
Yeah.
We started the Best of in 1984, and we put it out as an annual orgy of niceness. I mean, every week, at the time we were a weekly paper, not a website too. But every week, you have a lot of stories that some people might say are a little negative or critical or sarcastic. But this is our annual orgy of niceness. Everything in this edition, 337 awards, we think, from editorial, more from readers. Everything is a heartfelt piece of love. We love all these things.
And there is so much to cover. I mean, so who's in charge of? I would love to know who comes up with all the different things you're gonna cover, because it's everything from the best theater popcorn that's out there to the best breakfast sandwich to the best music video by a government entity. I mean, it's so creative. Who's behind all this?
The entire editorial staff, and a lot of, not just full-timers, but freelancers. Everyone is trained, I hope, to whenever they encounter anything really cool around Metro Denver, to write a note and just remember to go through their notes about a month before we start really putting this issue together and say, oh, I've got this really good one. I've got this really good one. And then we just kind of throw them all together, put them in an order that makes some sense to us, and that's it. So there, and I'm surprised because I don't edit every section. All the editors take one on, and you'll find something like, something as small as the best place to get the Denver Post for $1.50 on Sunday when it actually costs $4. I mean, that makes a difference to some people. The best place to read the New York Times for free, if you've got a Denver Public Library card, you can do that. I mean, we love the hidden gems that you mentioned because, there are all these little weird things hidden away at the Denver Museum of Nature and Science. And although we hate the cliche hidden gem, in this case, there actually is a taxidermied prairie dog in a rock at the Denver Museum of Nature and Science. So we consider that a hidden gem.
Oh, that's fantastic.
I was going to ask you that exact question. What are some of the things that popped out to you in this best of 2025 Westword rankings that you maybe haven't seen before, things that shocked you a little bit?
Yeah, or something that reminded you that you're like, oh, I forgot about that. Thanks for reminding me.
Well, there were a bunch of things, and you see them with new eyes. And as I said, the food section where we don't do like the basic overall best German restaurant. We're looking for these really crazy specialties that someone might just want to go find. It could be just a deal like the best lasagna under $15 or, the best chili cheese dog. That's a good example of an old one that we thought people need to know about this. You've got, the population in Denver is always renewing itself. They need to know that Sam's number 3 is still downtown, and you could go eat that chili cheese dog. But some of the other things are pretty serious. Like, you might remember the Denver Water Department put out a hilarious video last summer to the Backstreet Boys, but they called it the Splash Street Boys, to remind you how you should water in the summer in Colorado. And we think something like that deserves an honor when public officials will take the time to make a really silly video that goes viral. We'll keep that.
We're talking with Patricia Calhoun. She's the editor-in-chief of Westword. And Patricia, I've got so many questions. So I'll start with, what does your editorial team look for? Is there any particular angle that maybe 2 radio hosts could do to make sure that they end up on your list next year?
You really just have to train yourself when you read about something or hear about something or drive by something that makes you curious and you think, that is so weird. Why is there a car wash that also has a Mexican restaurant in it? Or just write a note and think, I'm going to find out more about that. And then, as I said, we unpack all these notes at the end of in March when we're doing this program. We make sure they're still in business. And I will say that's a sad one. We periodically have to remove several best ofs because in the space of a year they've closed.
Oh, I bet. Well, and that I have a great follow-up question. So you do this Best of 2025 awards. How does that impact these businesses? Have you heard from folks? You've been doing this since 1984. Since I ended up on your Best of Cheap Breakfast, for instance, we've been overwhelmed with people that have come up. Does this help businesses?
We know it helps businesses, which is great. And if you go into some businesses, you will see they have a whole wall of best ofs because we just love these businesses. They stay up on their game. They add to their game. So we don't guarantee everyone gets an award every year, and they certainly don't get the same award every year, as you two know. But we're always looking for things old and new that are really worth recommending to people in Denver, whether they've lived here 40 years or 4 minutes.
We're talking with Patricia Calhoun. She's the editor-in-chief of Westword about their Best of Denver 2025. I mean, to that point, Patricia, I sort of felt like when Barack Obama got the Nobel Prize after he had just gotten in, our show was like 2 months old, and we got the Best of Westword. But what it did is it like elevated me.
Yes.
I'll be totally honest. I was like, people are paying attention to this. We need to, step up our game. We need to make sure that we're delivering every single morning to do our very best.
It was a standard. We have a standard now to meet. Yes, every day.
And then when I saw that you guys were doing the readers poll, which I'll ask you about in a second, but when I saw you were back up again, I'm like, all right, Bill, they might be listening this morning. They might be the morning they're listening. We need to make sure we deliver the very best.
Yeah.
So I think it makes Denver better. All these different avenues, the businesses, all the different, aspects that you cover in here, it elevates the game. Now, I want to ask you about the Reader's Choice Poll. Tell us about that and how people responded to the poll.
This is a really good thing for people to note. So for the Reader's Choice Poll, people suggest the categories. Businesses can suggest the categories. You can suggest categories, say like best talk show host. It's completely separate from what the editorial team does. We don't go out with a set list. This is a set list that is put out in January, and then people can vote every day. We had 231 or maybe 232 categories, not quite sure there. But you could vote every day for your favorites in every one of those categories or just one of those categories. So by the time we were done, we had over 330,000 votes for these winners, the Reader's Choice winners. And it's a very unusual lineup of different awards because some were suggested by readers, some were suggested by businesses, and then they could just go compete. So you would go from everything like Best Bookstore, which the Tattered Cover won, to, a Best Skate Shop, to Best Movie Theater, but some things are a little more obscure, like Best Charcuterie Service.
Now, Patty Calhoun, editor of Westword, joining Jeff and Bill talking about the best of 2025, as we've outlined on the show. We had dominated the market so much they figured, no, we don't need a best talk radio category anymore because it just wasn't fair to everybody else. And we recognize that. That's okay. Now, I'm teasing. Now, Patty, I want to know about some of your favorite categories. What are some of the favorite categories when you see that list pop up and go, ooh, this is going to be interesting? What categories are your favorites?
I do like a best pickleball shot, which made the readers poll this time. I like the best vintage clothing stores and the best thrift store deals because those are just really useful for people. We've got a best nude spa, which I must say I have not tried out personally, but it's in there. The best activist artists, we celebrate people in here. There's just a lot. I will tell you another group we didn't do this year, which was legendary for a long time, was best hair on a TV anchor. We've retired that for the last few years. And Denise Plant, I was talking to her, she said, what happened to that category?
Oh, yeah, because Denise is all about the hairstyle.
And who won?
Yeah. We didn't do it this year.
Yeah, they didn't do them. Yeah, they retired it.
You're not the only ones who were snubbed. Hair today, gone tomorrow.
Kyle Clark is
just
feeling it today.
There's so many people that are just losing out on this. Now, what I want to ask Patty Calhoun, editor of Westword, now with these, those are your favorite categories. I love the idea, the best vintage clothing store. Those are some that my kids go after, and I'm there with them as well. What were some of the award winners that surprised you? Some of those that you're like, oh, I didn't know about this place or this person, or wow, I had forgotten about this place, this person, this event, and it's a great reminder. What were the ones that when you saw their names pop up on the winner list made you smile?
Well, here's a good example, and this reminds me, we'll get back to my challenge to you to come downtown. There's a bar where every single drink is $5, and it's right by Union Station. It's like a secret hidden bar, Lincoln's, right on Wine Coop Street. Everything is under $5, or is $5 because of Abe Lincoln, a $5 bill. That is an extremely cool thing that just came up in the last year, which is really worth telling people to go to. But we also have Best Comeback. So the Vine Street Pub, which closed during COVID, didn't reopen for almost 5 years, and it's a really popular one on 17th. That reopened this year, so they were worth giving an award to.
Oh, that's fantastic.
So we have old and new.
Wow. I love that idea of Lincoln's because it gives me back to old college Billy's days of going to the Giggling Grizzly and Flip It night, where you can get your drinks for $0.25. Bad decisions were made that night. Very, very, very bad decisions.
Okay, so you can go downtown. So let me renew my challenge that we are going to meet downtown one night.
Yes, we need to. We absolutely have to do that.
You got secret bars and nude spas. I think this is quite a trip downtown.
Yeah, the nude spas.
I actually did not mention the nude spot in connection with downtown because it is not.
But again, you have to travel outside the
just between all of us, though. Yeah, just between all of us, though. Think about it. That we're talking about, what is going to separate our spa from the average? What is the market that's not being fulfilled right now? The naked people. Yes, we need I want to be in that marketing meeting. The idea that what's going to differentiate our product is nakedness. I thought Hooters and the strip clubs had already covered that one, but oh well. That's now, Patty. What is, in your opinion, what is one category besides the best hair or best radio talk show host? What are other categories that maybe have fallen to the wayside that you may want to see come back? And the reason I'm asking this is because, as you outlined, voters can suggest when we come around for next year some other categories. What would be some categories that you're kind of sad we don't visit anymore?
Well, I'll tell you one category that came back this year. We did it back in 1984. Some people may remember hot tubs were so big, you could actually rent mobile hot tubs for a party. Like they'd be driving up Lincoln and you'd see hot tubs full of people. But now hot tubs are not quite as mobile, but that came back on the readers' poll as a category that people were interested in because people like their hot tubs, but generally like them a little more private.
Oh, that's interesting.
We actually retired green chili for a while, so don't feel bad about talk show host because green chili, that gets people to fight and argue more than anything else.
Really?
What's the best green chili? And tastes are so different that what we've now gone to is doing a list of, say, the 10 best green chilies in Denver, which is separate from this. We do that during the year. And we've done that with pizza. Because there's so many kinds of pizza and people have really different ideas. So we do a whole list of great pizzas out there. We pulled that out of the best stuff because really we can say, next time we do say it, who the best talk show host is, but it is really hard to come up in a city like Denver with the very best green chili because everyone's tastes are different.
Yeah, and pizza is also such a personal preference, and green chili is really hard, and you're absolutely right. If you want to go down and you immediately want to schedule some needed dental work or you need some teeth removed, go to Pueblo and say Hatch's chilies are better than Pueblo chilies. You're going to get punched in the face in about 3 seconds. So, yeah, people take it seriously based on their adherence to what they think is the best green chili. Yeah, those are fighting words many places in Colorado. You're absolutely right.
Patricia Calhoun, editor-in-chief of Westword, with the best of Denver out. Go to westword.com. They got it right there, westword.com. You could do /best of Denver if you want to get directly to it, but westword.com has this. It's always a lot of fun. You will find things you've never even thought of.
Here's what you got to do. This weekend, you're looking for something to do. You've got something next couple of weeks where you and your friends are sitting there and going, or maybe the significant other is like, I don't know. What do you want to do? I don't know. What do you want to do? It's Westword's Best of 2025.
Really
Run
best
down the list.
Free entertainment,
That's
too.
it. And you pick what you guys just take what you want to do. Do you want to go look for best this, best that? Do you want best free entertainment? You pick a genre. You go to the Westword's Best of 2025. You've got the absolute best thing you can do in the city this weekend, next week. So next time your friends, your significant other is like, there's nothing to do. I don't know. What do you want to do? No. Your answer is right in the Westword. Go to Westword's Best of 2025. There's your answer.
Westword.com. Patricia Calhoun, editor-in-chief. Thanks so much for joining the Jeff and Bill Show.
Thank you.
My pleasure, and we're setting a date downtown.
Yes, we are.
I will
I'll
be
text
back in
you.
touch.
I will text you off air, and we'll talk about what might be working for you.
My videos, Patricia, tend to go pretty viral these days.
Yeah.
I think Pierce Morgan picked up my one from the Bernie Sanders rally. So we'll have some fun for sure.
All right. Excellent.
Thank you so much.
Have a
All
great
right.
day.
Speaking of great restaurants, my absolute favorite, Black Eyed Pea of Colorado, locally owned and operated by Stephen Michelle. I love this restaurant. It's homestyle cooking, worth going out for. I had a friend, police officer friend, college roommate. We hadn't seen each other in years. We want to grab lunch. Where are we going? Black Eyed Pea. It's what we went to earlier this week. With 8 locations, there's sure to be one near you. When's the last time you took the family to eat at the Black Eyed Pea? Everything is made from scratch. Roasted turkey breast, dinner, mom's meatloaf, grilled salmon. How about homemade soups, great salads, and delicious mashed potatoes? They've got daily specials. They've got senior discounts. And you better save room for dessert with the Black Eyed Pea. They have the mile-high 1-pound chocolate cake. We get it for the whole kids. We all dive in with our forks. It's absolutely incredible. Look, we're all about maha these days, right? And maha is not about eating flavorless wafers. It's about eating quality food, not processed food, locally sourced with all the great ingredients. That's what the Black Eyed Pea has. So make your dinner party, rehearsal dinner, wedding reception, or company event a success with Black Eyed Pea catering. And no matter what the occasion, Black Eyed Pea gift cards are always great. Whether you purchase them for your spouse, birthday favors, or holiday presents, they have you covered. I love everything about this restaurant. I know you will as well. So keep it in Colorado and visit the Black Eyed Pea near you. It's Friday. It's the last part of the 9 o'clock hour. Yeah.
Just got a call off the air.
Yeah.
Someone was suggesting a category for next year. Best KNUS Jeff and Bill Show caller that we should vote for. Now, I am saying that the category was suggested by Joe from Arvada, so he might be trying to stack the deck. I'm not saying that he shouldn't be the winner. I'm just saying, and he's got an idea about posthumously who we should name it after. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But yeah, that's a great idea. Love you, Joe.
Well, and speaking of that, we got a text message from the former host of this show, a little envious. He was never named.
I can't what was his name again? I can't remember.
He moved on to something else. I think he took a step down.
Absolutely. He just, we don't know what's happened to his life. We've seen him. He's been begging at other radio stations to get on the air and things. And I love you, George.
Oh, love you, George. Love that you're listening. Thank you. All right, we'll continue because it's Friday, 9:30. That means Jeff Hildebrand, Cowboy Poet Laureates in studio. We're going to get ready for the weekend with a little cowboy poetry. You're not going to want to miss it. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's
the best
talk
of
leader.
Denver.
Best of Denver.
Jeff and Bill Show.
Yeah, they got to take the belts for us before we relinquish them. Get in the cage with us. And we're getting ready to mosey in just a second with Jeff Hildebrand, 710 KNUS.
All right, it's that time of the week where we get to have our friend, the Cowboy Poet Laureate, here at 710 KNUS, Jeff Hildebrandt, live in studio to prepare us for the weekend.
I keep telling you, it's not laureate, it's lariat.
Poet Laureate.
Poet Laureate. That's it.
Well, my ranch work is done on the weekends. It's going to be a rainy weekend, though, but that's typically when I get my ranch work. So this puts me right in the mood, because the minute after this, I get to become a cowboy.
Yippee-ki-yay.
There's more to that phrase, Bruce Willis says.
It's actually the original. You may not know this, but the original was for his parents when he said that.
Bruce Willis?
Because it was yippee-ki-yay, mother, father. That's what I've heard.
Did you for a second, Bill, think of just... did your finger just for a second?
I was a dump button.
Getting ready?
Oh, yes, I was.
Because he went yippee-ki-yay.
That's the one time on the show you can get me a little twitchy. That's the one time. Those words, yes.
All right,
Okay.
Mr. Hildebrandt,
All right.
what do you got for us?
This is serious business here. I listened to Bill and you, but he's oftentimes more out there. He does a segment earlier in the show called You Choose the News. And so I thought, well, how about if we do You Pick the Poem?
Ooh,
so,
I love it.
So I have a couple to choose from. These are both rewrites of songs you may have heard. One is by Jimmy Buffett, called Pencil Thin Mustache. The other is by Garth Brooks.
I'm a Buffett fan. I'm a bigger Buffett than I am a
Brooks fan?
Brooks
Really?
fan. Yeah,
Really?
for sure.
You got more parrot head than
Well,
cowboy
that's
hat?
because
Wow.
he's a lib. Garth Brooks is a lib.
So it's not musical genre. It's oh wow, that's interesting.
I like Jimmy
Oh.
Buffett better. Let's go with Jimmy.
Just bars and ballads. Okay.
Yeah, let's go with Jimmy.
Okay. This is actually Jimmy Buffet. It's no, not really. Okay. So, as I say, I stole the rhyme scheme, the melody, from Mr. Buffett's song. I've been watching movies about the Old West. It seems every hero survives every test. Now I find I'm dreaming, and I just want to be a white-hatted hero like those on TV. Oh, I wish I had a handlebar mustache, the Sam Elliott kind. Quick draw pistols and big leather chaps. I could have a sidekick like Andy Devine. I remember being a fan as a kid and saving the homestead the way Hoppy did. Now, if I had a handlebar mustache, I could be a hero too. It was backyard riding hard, living the dream, being Gene Autry all day. It was Cap Gruns, lots of fun in those early years. Why, I remember leading the Three Musketeers. Back then, all my heroes knew just what to do. Now I wish I had a handlebar mustache so I could be a hero too.
That is great.
God, that speaks to young Billy. Yeah, there are a lot of times. Yes, huge Lone Ranger fan. Huge Lone Ranger
Were ya?
fan. Oh,
Do you have your own mask?
Hell yeah. Yes.
Can your mom
Mask,
send us a picture,
hat.
Bill?
Oh, I don't know. She might be able to, but I'm talking mask, hat. I got the 6-shooters. I had at least, I can think of 3 different action figures, various sizes, and the horses with Lone Ranger. Yeah, until Johnny Depp screwed it up. And yeah, that was crap.
Yeah, that was a bad one.
That was so bad.
And that was Army Hammer, too.
Yeah,
Remember he
and
was in that movie?
it disappointed me deep inside my heart. It was so, because they took what was really, really good and a neat story. I had the stupid comic books and things for the Lone Ranger. Yeah, that is the amount of time that I spent in the backyard, and we had one of those. They're the sky swings where you go back and forth on there. And and again, this is the old school swing set. Or if you're going too high, the posts come up, they go whoop, and then a thump as you come back down because you're rocking back and forth. The number of times I sat on that sky swing, easy for me to say, pretending that I was riding silver. Oh my God, the number of times that my neighbors heard me yell "Hi-ho Silver" as a little kid out there. Yeah, I apologize to them. Absolutely, that speaks to me.
Yeah, we're going to read the Garth Brooks one too, or are we moving on?
You picked the poem. You want the Garth Brooks one?
Sure, let's hear Garth too.
I've got friends in low places.
All right, this is a cowboy version of a poem that Garth Brooks, song Garth Brooks did. You may recognize the melody. It's called "The Dreamer." You know, a cowboy is a dreamer as he rides the shrinking range where he dreams of independence and avoiding coming change. And he learns from what has happened to avoid what lies ahead as he works to keep the home place and make sure his family's fed. Too many folks have been defeated, let their dreams just slip away till the future they imagined is cut down like the hay. But this cowboy lives his vision, and with God on his side, says he'll sit tight in his saddle and just enjoy the ride. And he will ride his pony through the pastures and the streams, 'cause he says it makes a difference, and it keeps alive his dreams. He sees God on the hillsides in the colors of the leaves, and it makes him truly thankful for the blessings he's received. So ride on, all you cowboys. We just pray that you survive. You're the ones that make it possible to keep our dreams alive.
Oh, that's nice.
Good one. I love it.
Oh, it's so good.
Thank you.
Well done.
Thank you,
Jeff
Garth
Hildebrand.
Brooks.
Let's see. We've got one not for
wait a minute here.
Sale?
I'm trying to think. There was another one. No, I decided I wasn't going to do it. I have a takeoff on a very popular one. Maybe next week.
Great.
It was written by a friend of mine, Johnny Western, and it's based on the Ballad of Paladin, which is everywhere these days. Have guns will travel.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But now,
So-
Jeff, you did. You performed at Carnegie Hall.
I did with Johnny.
Wow.
Really?
That's been 21 years ago.
Bill, a place we are never going to get to. I will
no
promise you that. There's not going to have the
Well,
Jeff
depending,
Show.
depending on how you place next year in the balloting.
Even then, they're not going to allow me there. I'm going to have to buy a ticket. That's the only way I'm getting into Carnegie Hall. It's the only way.
Yeah. It was an interesting experience.
Well, here, why don't we step aside maybe and come back to that and figure out what the story is?
Yeah, we'll get to that next. You're listening to Jeff and Bill along with Jeff Hildebrand, a little cowboy poetry as we get ready for the weekend.
Yes, he is the poet laureate of the Jeff and Bill Show, as he likes to say. This is Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. So, Jeff, we've got just a few minutes here. This is the poem you actually read at Carnegie Hall, huh?
Yeah, this is, it's called Cowboy Up America, and it's after 9/11. I wrote this, and they asked me if I'd perform it at Carnegie Hall, which is not far from Ground Zero, of course.
Wow. Very powerful. Go ahead.
And anyway, for those who don't know, Cowboy Up is a term that is used to mean just get the job done. It doesn't matter, okay? So I'll try to race through this thing. When a cowboy's in a pinch, he just tightens up the cinch, spurs his horse, rides right through it, 'cause that's the way John Wayne would do it. He'd cowboy up. And when our country's in danger, cowboys like the old Lone Ranger, riding hard, shooting straight, and fighting those who spread the hate. He's cowboyed up. A cowboy's ready and he's willing to face the foe like Marshall Dillon. And when the gun smoke clears away, cowboy spirit wins the day. So cowboy up, pull your hat down tight. Don't back down when you know what's right. We'll bring back happy trails for you like Hoppy, Gene, and Roy would do. They will not let the flag unravel. As long as they have gun, we'll travel. And cowboy up, hell-bent for leather, 'cause we can't lose when we fight together. We'll chase those varmints down the trail. With God's help, we will prevail. You know, if Gary Cooper, Joel McCrae, and Randolph Scott were here today, they'd fight for what is right and true. But now it's up to me and you to cowboy up. So let's give Uncle Sam a hand, 'cause we're all riding for his brand. Let New York and the Pentagon inspire resolve to carry on. We've cowboyed up. In God we trust, and we fight because our cause is just. We're standing tall and standing free, 'cause we won't stand for tyranny.